barely got the brakes on in time.
Yeah.
Well, I see we have 9:30, so we'll convene our meeting with our first item of the review and approval of today's agenda.
So moved.
Thank you, Joan. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Anything else?
Question on the agenda. We have the county board members issue form, Mr. Wagner. I believe it was Mr. Strandel's request to have it as a agenda item. Just point of order, are we able to kill it or make a motion in the members form or?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes, I put it on.
so, all right, just a question on that. So, thank you.
Anything else? If not, all those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed, motion carries. And we have 8 consent items there. Is there a motion to proceed?
Yes, I do.
All right, I will second that. Any questions concerning any of those 8 items? If not, all those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed, motion carries. Members issue forum, Joan, could you bring us up to date?
Sure. So I had a DHS Performance Console meeting. It was one that was not a regular schedule, and it was a special meeting. And we did a recommendation because of the changes in DHS with now going to having an additional department. It affects some of the PIP requirements that we oversee. And so, it's probably not expecting a smooth transition for counties to the new department. So we did agree to, there's 3 PIP requirements that we decided to suspend temporarily. And they deal with relative care and 12-month permanency. And that's like for children that go into foster home of, to find a stable location for them. And then also the maltreatment recurrence. And there was, some questions about, are things going to be still kind of watched, if we're not doing, requiring PIPs. But, we were assured that, things will still be watched and those type of things. So hoping that it goes well. And then I did my monthly radio program. And then, like everyone else, I was up at Euclid for the public meeting in regards to the roundabout up there. And then Gary and we had our first negotiations meeting with the sergeants, dispatch, and deputies. We had our monthly women's cohort, and this time our discussion was on how counties deal with budgets, planning, and there are some like us where we do the 2 full days of meeting with each department. Some of the other ones, like, I kind of surprised, like Ramsey County and stuff, they actually do a 2-year budget. And so, and, they set goals and, like dollar figures beside things. And then like the second year of the budget, they kind of look at, well, are we doing what we want to do and, how things are going. So, there was just, kind of things that are all over the board and how different counties do things. And then last night, Paul and I were at the Union Lake Sarah meeting, and they just had completed their survey again of Union and Sarah. Usually they do it every 2 years, but this was 3 years. But it did show that the spraying has helped. And as of right now, Lake Sarah still has no invasive weeds. So they are, still good. Union's been working with the eco harvester, and right now they are going and doing cleaning weeds in front of homes. But there's certain requirements that they have to meet in order to be able to do that, and limit as far as how much they can do. Just kind of trying to make use of the harvester, and also to just keep working on those weeds. And then they had approved the bill for their spraying for this year, which is going to be just a little under 26,000, which is actually down from last year, because last year was a little over 30,000. And they actually had spray that our AIS committee had approved funding for them for purchasing previously, and they were able to use that up. So, they didn't have the full cost of spray. And unfortunately, yesterday there was DNR put out a news release that zebra mussels have been found in Union Lake. So, it's going to change how we have to do things, and, trying to keep it hopefully just there. But, it's unfortunately, I think these invasives they're just there. So, and I had received a phone call actually over the weekend. My secretary at home had forwarded me the information. A person out by Mule John, there's DNR property across the road from them, and they had not been, the weeds had not been taken care of. So supposedly now, this week, the DNR was going to be out there to cut down the weeds. And I did my civic duty and judged the talent contest at the Polk County Fair. A lot of good entries, a good entertaining night.
I see that was on live too, so
Oh, was it?
I caught a little bit of it. I
You were there.
didn't catch the whole thing.
There's proof I was there. Yeah, no, it's, and there's some that, they've been there multiple times. And it's just it's fun to kind of see their progression of how they do improve. And it's just really encouraging to see that, even they don't win one year, that they come back again. So it's I enjoy doing it.
It's a good thing. Mark,
Two things. The meeting up in Euclid, I thought it was very good. Did get some feedback after the meeting that evening. A couple of gentlemen that had been calling me quite a bit about the roundabout and were very boisterous. Unfortunately, they couldn't be at the meeting because it was the first nice day in many days for field work, so forth and so on. But they apparently, some of the people that were at the meeting referenced that it was a good meeting, a lot of good information, which brought me to the conclusion, and we talked about it a little bit after the meeting. I think on these type of projects, when there's severe detours involved, I think it's a very good deal for the county to have local meetings like that to explain the project, explain the detour, and answer any questions at that point. I would only wish that this meeting would have been like a year ago, and to field more questions and comments. And I think Mr. Sanders did a very good job. And I think a lot of the questions were answered that I was getting. And because we've been told it's the same size as the roundabout at 59 and 21 out in Pennington County. But it appears this one is a little bit bigger. And overall, I thought it was a very good meeting. And I'd encourage Mr. Sanders to do these type of meetings uh, when they're involving such detail and disruption of traffic flows. That being said, I've noticed traffic on 21 has been stopped. 19, Port County Road 19, driving over here this morning at O'Mara, westbound traffic, I counted 13 cars at the stop sign, cars, trucks at the stop sign, waiting to get on County Road 20 or 19 to turn to go into East Grand Forks, Grand Forks. That poor road's going to get hammered out. And I've had also a call on the 220 project, County Road 64, which is a gravel road, now hard pavement. It's totally getting demolished. And if I remember right, there was a maximum comment on, I think the last meeting we accepted payment for maximum of $20,000. Whatever we've gotten compensated for County Road 64 traffic. I'm sorry, if it's a state law, I get it. But that poor road is gonna get hammered out. Matter of fact, the party that called me, right in front of their driveway is a big soft spot, and a gentleman's trying to haul commodities out, and it's just, there's no base to it. And the other problem, as I see it, is the 220 construction trucks are also using County Road 64. You would think it would be mandatory that they stay on 220 to help pack it, or because it's basically all ripped up and the subgrade is gravel is there. Why not compact it in a little bit more with trucks, so forth and so on? I don't understand the rationale why the construction trucks are hammering out County Road 64. It's,
I've
to
had
me,
lots of complaints about speed on 64
Oh.
too. I think I'm going to be asking Jim Tadman to try to do some patrolling there.
my son and I drove in for lunch on Friday, I think it was Thursday, Friday. We're doing 55. We got passed,
Mm,
and the car had to be going 75.
yeah.
And it's absolutely ridiculous, just ridiculous. So, I'm mentioned every meeting, but County Road 64, if it doesn't have to be rebuilt in a few years, it's going to be a miracle. And I think it's tragic that it's getting hammered out that way, because it was kind of a okay road prior. This has just expedited the death of that road. So, thank you.
Sunday, got a chance to go to the county fair in Fertile. My two sons and their families were up for the weekend, so it was kind of a very nice reunion. They both have been very involved with 4-H, and so got a chance to check the parade. One of our commissioners was in the parade.
Oh, yeah. Was he
Uh,
campaigning?
not. No, I don't think so. There were
Okay.
a few other politicians there that were very active, I would say, with the crowds, but very nice parade. Got a chance to see some dogs jumping and 4-H exhibits, obviously, and checking out the bathrooms. That was on my list again. Um, Corrections, Monday, Warren will probably have some more, but our numbers on Monday were 137, significantly lower. Kind of good and bad, as long as financially 137 is fine. Have the capacity is good, but if the need is down, that's probably a good thing. So we'll follow that very closely. Of the 137, 95 were Polk County residents. Most important thing, I think, was approving a new funding formula for the budget, which now kind of breaks things down between administration, the juvenile center, the jail, so you know exactly, and probation's where you know exactly where those dollars are going. So we'll have Andy here in a month or so explaining his budget. So I think a lot more answers on that, and of course, um, Rich putting together, all the utility costs and things like, make sure that those exact for each individual facility. The roundabout in Euclid meeting, I think went very well. Good attendance. Thanks, Mark, for pushing that. I think you're absolutely correct that the individuals that are affected by can meet directly with a representative from the county. And I was impressed that I think we had all 5 commissioners there. Showed that we do have a very strong concern as to what detours we're going to do with farm equipment, getting through a roundabout, when the project's going to be done. I'm still a little nervous about that. A lot of projects I've worked with extend, and that could be a disaster for Pete. So we will hope for good weather and a good contractor. And then Joan did mention that the 2 of us and Chuck met with the 3 unions, and they primarily went over what their request, what they were looking for. And we will be meeting again, I believe, on July 25th.
Next Thursday.
Next Thursday. So it's going to come up really fast. But we're hoping that we can make some progress with that. So we know where we're at with the budget. That's going to be a very big item. Warren.
Okay, so a little bit more on corrections. The average population this year has been 148.73, so we're down about 10. But past years, we've been up bouncing on that 180 round. And we're staffed and have room for 200. And 180 is way too much because there's not enough room to maneuver and separate and all of that.
More difficult.
Yeah. But the upside of that was that the income for the month was $121,543. So that's up. And we need to be about 103, I think, like that, to have money to pay off the debt service on the bonds. Juvenile center for the month of June, they averaged 4.4 in the non-secure side, 0.2 in the secure side. That secure side has just been used for really troubled kids when they have to separate them. Then for the year, the average has been 5.1 on the non-secure and 132 on the secure. The good news on that is that they're programming reopening of the secure side on July 29. And that's, of course, if there aren't any more staff issues there. Their current staffing corrections, the jail side, they're down 5, but there's only 2 short on the non-secure side on the juvenile center. As far as staffing goes, Teamsters has made connection with Tri-County to begin negotiation. See, in probation, there were 49 new cases, 67 closed. One number there that I don't always pay attention to is the number of cases that they have on file that they're working on. It's 1,223, so there's a heck of a lot of work there to maintain those people. And from what I understand, that probation cases are 5 years. They keep people on for 5 years. I think that might be a little on the long side if there's a good, if they've been complying with all the rules and regulations. Should be able to part with them a little earlier. On the funding side, currently in this fiscal year that just ended, I guess, the 21, Polk County was paying 88.10% of the costs of operation, and for 2024, that number goes up 88.49. So it goes up a little bit, but all of that is based on usage. So it's pretty fair way to assess things, I guess. Uh, That's probably enough on that. Uh, Jim, I've had some calls about speeding on 464. I would hope you could probably put some staff, some people out there on patrol. Because some of those ridiculous speeds in that sort of gravel road, that's a detour route. And it's a problem.
Even a wrecked sheriff's car out there parked would be good.
Uh,
With
A
the light
decoy,
on.
I should say a decoy car.
Yeah, there you go. No, I get it, cause they sure don't do it. There's not too many places to hide out there.
Oh,
That's the problem.
Okay,
Yeah. So, I know where all the state troopers hide, but it's hard to hide out in the middle of gravel roads, so.
okay. The only other thing I have is Don Diedrich is still planning his Thursday, July 25. Little commissioners get together, try to do it at the shanty. I haven't heard any more on it lately, and I suppose today I'll try to make some connection with the shanty people.
let
to
us
let them
know
that
what
we're
time.
coming. Well, it would be evening meal type of thing, maybe 4 or 5 o'clock, and as long as Don keeps buying, we'll stay.
All right, let us know.
But do we have to post that? I suppose we,
If we have a quorum, so just let me know.
All right.
Maybe we can just post it anyway and make a late decision.
okay, well,
It'd be nice to have a time.
Yeah,
yeah, okay, well, probably, yeah,
check with Don and
okay.
I mean, like we've got negotiations that day, so it's, after that.
And then we have
we
our,
should be done by 5 or 5:30, I would hope.
I hope so.
And I won't be here that day.
Okay, and Mark, are you?
I kind of doubt I'll let Don buy me dinner.
You can always catch him at the fair.
There we go.
he'll be at the fair.
Oh, definitely.
Anything
Okay,
else?
the only other thing is on Monday, the 29th, we have our next West Central Regional Water District meeting. And that's the one we are supposedly to formally appoint our memberships. Polk County will have 4 members. Clay would have 3, and Norman would have 2. The first 2 members in these groups are commissioners, and they would be phased out as the district develops. So it would become a user group, basically.
Next Tuesday at your board meeting, I'll have resolution for you formalizing the board's action. Clay and Norman will also be doing their resolutions that day, so you'll see it next Tuesday.
Okay, that's enough for me.
Paul,
Couple of things. Of course, Euclid. I thought it was great information for first time being to one of those type of meetings. The biggest thing I took out of that was the width was one of the bigger concerns that I heard.
Yeah.
That was answered excellently. They compared it to the one in Pennington by the casino there. The 18, he explained it well. I thought all of a sudden the questions kind of just ceased after that. When a few of those farmers were most concerned about getting the machinery through, it just seemed like all of a sudden most of the questions quit after that. I think the concerns you had about it being done on time. One thing I do know, coming from a road construction family, when it starts costing them money to be there, and when Rich said the amount of money it costs them to overrun, they're not going to run too many days over, because he said it was an extremely high cost for them to be there every day past. I'm optimistic. Hopefully.
Well, how does weather affect it?
It does. That's why they place so many days in that contract.
there's a margin. It just depends on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a luck of the draw. That's why they put it in their contract.
Okay,
So I'm hoping that works in our favor. Maybe it'll be done a week early. Maybe we'll see. The Maple Lake thing, Joan did a good job explaining everything there. A couple of added points though. with the new announcement with the zebra mussels, they won't be able to pump anymore now until something is done, whether they put a filter on or whatever they have to do,
They'd have to put a new filter on that,
sorts out the
well, that it's small enough that the zebra mussels
mussels
cannot.
can't get through. So that was something there. Um, they're Joan explained that now because of the high water, how much water we got, and they can only weed because of the water temperature, and they got a little bit variance from the DNR about the time and the amount of time they let them do run um, the machine a little bit longer than normal. They got a little variance on that to run more of their acreage through. But the water, we got so much water so often, and they couldn't reach the weeds because the water got deeper and deeper as they grew, and they just kept missing their high water mark. So now they can use the machine for so many square footage in front without the permit, so to speak. But they can apply for a permit to do more, but that permit takes time. Um, I think they're going to work on that for the future, so that they can do this. So just reassurance that they can use this machine as much as humanly possible. We invested, they invested. Um, just encourage them to keep working that. Thanks everybody for participating in the fair. Um, One of the biggest things with the fair is that I've been on the fair board for I think this will be my 30th year. And since the beginning, I used to always hear everybody called it the Fertile Fair. Well, it is not the Fertile Fair. I've told them ever since the day one, this is not the Fertile Fair. This is the Polk County Fair and represented as such. And everybody, all the fair board members, they are very adamant about that fact that it is the Polk County Fair and represented as such. But it's very difficult to get wide variety participation on the board. So I really want to shout out to one of our own, Sarah. She is a superior. I'm going to say it. She is above and beyond board member, but she's one of our only ones from the west side of the county, and we have one from the east side of the county on the fair board, and the rest of them are pretty much in that central area. So I encourage anybody, if you're interested, apply, try to get on. But I thank everybody for coming, especially y'all for coming and showing up.
How large a board is it?
Right now it's an 18 member, but
Eight?
18.
18.
I'd like to see it get bigger because there's a lot of us that are getting kind of aged.
Well, I understand that.
So anyhow, thanks. That's all I got.
Brent, I believe we have you on the agenda. If you could come forward, the microphone at least will pick you up. Otherwise, people that are viewing probably not going to hear you.
You can sit if you want.
Yeah, just have a seat there and
Did you all see what we sent to insurance?
did not. You just have the one copy or
That paper is what we filled out, my boys and I.
Oh yeah,
I got 4 of them.
I'll just send them around.
And Mr. Reese.
I
last time
have-
was here,
I've seen this, so
pretty much.
Are we
wanted me
short
to
one?
Itemize everything.
Yep.
That has happened, that could happen, that will happen.
okay, go ahead.
I've also got a picture here that shows it much better. You can see the streaking of where the cat pushed stuff
Mm-hmm.
way out to here, way up into here.
Okay.
That went on for 13 acres. And we've
Yeah.
got, and as far as the insurance, they sent me a letter pretty much laughing at what we sent in. I have never, ever had a claim with any insurance company that didn't say one word to me. Didn't come out and visit, not a thing. Not a phone call, not a thing. I guess I couldn't understand that. If they did come out,
the fields, if they did go out in my bean field and my sugar beet field, my sons and I have spent hours walking down the rows,
I think I do.
picking rocks into buckets.
File one.
It's still very bad out in the wheat field, but that covered up where we couldn't see the rocks as well as soon as the wheat came up decent. But you can very easily see on that picture where the cat pushed stuff way out there. There's places it's been pushed out in the field 200 feet. Was pushed out in the field 200 feet. You see the streaks, Joan? I'm sorry, Miss. I should have called you Miss Lee. Sorry. But you can see. And just knowing, seeing the streaks where my combine went, I know that's 200 feet, or some places it's more than 200 feet.
And I was out there the spring of, how long has this been in play, Brent?
This winter will be the second winter.
Second winter. And when did the process to move the snow, what month did that happen?
Oh, crap. Hard time. I'd guess
February, March?
beginning of February.
Of
You
the
can see
winter
the
of 23.
Streaks.
Okay.
20. Yep.
Yep.
From a lay of the land out there, and it'd be nice to have a map, but there's the south of the railroad tracks, there's the county road, correct?
Yes.
And then the railroad tracks, and then there's a township road or field road or township road.
Yep.
And you had mentioned 13 acres. How far from your estimation from the center of the railroad tracks to the northern edge of the rocks? Approximately 150 yards.
Well, I mow that with a 15-foot mower. As far out as some of those rocks where you're going to be pushing 250 feet from the center of the tracks.
And
230 to 250.
from the center of the tracks.
Mhm.
And previous to the snow moving, that area's accumulated snow
And we had a lot
before.
of snow.
And what's been the practice in that area previously with the snow?
When Bob Lean run the grader, he'd go out there with the V-plow. And he would make, 96, 97. I'm pretty sure he was still working. He made many, many passes, working to the north. And yeah, we caught a lot of it and kept it off of there, out of there, helping the road too. And then that winter, I was visiting with young Engelstead. And, I said, as much snow as we're getting, could you start on the north end and just, catch it before it gets to the south, help it out. Well, he kind of misunderstood me. He went north and south to start out with rather than going east and west right away. I mean, that's just probably my fault for not being right there when he was there. But he, that letter that he wrote, yeah, a lot of that, well, yeah, I agree with what he wrote, but at the same time, he had nothing to do with it. Not a thing to do with it. I've seen him, after storms help many people. Good man, good kid, or I shouldn't say kid.
Good employee.
Very good. And him and I, we talked, I suppose a month and a half ago now.
Well, I think it's pretty obvious this certainly wasn't intentional.
No, none of this was intentional,
I understand.
but
It happened.
it's a heck of a mess.
It happened.
And with that cat out there, it multiplied that mess 2-3 times. Easy. And there's no winners in this. I still have a mess,
I understand.
and I know for a fact that when I go in there to the beat field this fall, my grab rollers, the plastic, are gonna get the living crap ripped out of them. And Mark, you know as well as I know, you pretty much gotta cut good bearings to get that stuff out of there. Well, that's gonna get expensive.
And to push plastic on
Yeah.
rollers, it's about a $2,800 deal per roller, and there's
Yeah.
5 rollers on the bottom.
Yeah.
Plus a bearing on each end, and those bearings are $145 each.
Yeah.
You're looking at close to, and then labor
Yep.
of
It's a 2-day job and you, two guys are working their tail off.
for,
You know, Mr. Strandell, I showed him what grab rollers and how it looks, and yeah, it's a problem, yeah. And then, you know, I've gotta carry ingestion insurance with the combine. That's $600 every year because of this, you know.
and plus deductible with that insurance.
Yeah, 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 and I just I don't understand why they think they shouldn't be held accountable. It happened. Nobody tried to make it happen. It happened. Well, you know, let's figure this out. I gotta compensate my boys. They worked a lot, and we still have a lot of work to do.
You said you received a correspondence of some sort from MCIT?
Yes, I did.
And it said that they were not covering.
Not a
any
thing. They said that
of the-
the railroad had compensated me enough. Okay. We have determined that you have been fully compensated for your resulting damages from the settlement with BNSF in regards to this loss. The county made the loss 2 to 3 times, or problem 2 to 3 times worse. Easy.
So where are we at? When you first came in and you were looking at getting some funding for people to help move the rocks and that type of thing. And that was a certain dollar figure. I don't necessarily recall the exact amount, but it was considerably less than the 52,000.
Well, that there is what, remember, Mr. Reese,
Yeah, right.
to itemize.
Mhm.
Well, you know, at the top is what happened last year. And the 24 is, a lot of that's gonna happen again for sure. And then there's stuff that's still gonna happen, you know? And there, you know, I don't care how good we pick it up. Every time we work it out there, there's more stuff that gets pulled to the surface. And every time we get a real good rain, after it dries up, we go out with the buckets because then you can see the stuff real good. And there for a while, we pretty much had to quit because we couldn't get out there. And then all of a sudden, now the beans and the beets are covering the row where you can't see it.
You have beets on this property.
Yes, on the west side, and then the soybeans are on the east side. You know, and if you walk down there now, you'll say, well, what's the problem? Well, we worked our tails off. And when we work it again, we'll have more stuff come up. Do I think I should get that, what we sent to the insurance?
That's the question.
Yeah. But like we agreed last time to itemize everything, including how much the land got devalued. You know, that's the big part of this. You know, Mark being a farmer, he knows dang well how much trouble I've had already and will have. You know?
Unfortunately, the size of rocks when I was out there are the rocks that are hard to deal with, especially in sugar beet production, because they don't bounce like the beets do. If the rocks were because people do farm in rocky area or raise beets. Not that many acres, but they're accustomed to and dealing with, and their harvesters have spring-loaded grab rolls so that the grab rolls grab the beet and basically allow it to, if it's not going with the beets, it gets dropped out of the harvester. And yours are, I'm assuming, not a spring-loaded
We don't have none
grab
of that.
roll.
Shouldn't
And
have to.
it's a size of rock that can break a grab roll. The size of rock that can get caught in the chains. It's cumbersome, and even for combine, it's the size of rock that won't just sit on the cutter bar. It's the size of rock that's going to ride with soybeans or wheat or whatever and go right into the combine. And that's, you don't know it until you hear clunk and something fails, and it's big money.
My neighbors just put 64 grand into their combine. The Beisingers, Kevin and Brian. They ran something through with $64,000.
So in this situation, yes, Mr. Wagner said this wasn't not intentional. I think he's been more than forthright in coming here. This is your, what, fourth visit, third visit,
I
fourth
think it
visit?
was third.
Third, I think. Yeah.
Third, yeah.
And I appreciate this.
And
Really do.
I think it's time we either one way or the other, and I'll make a motion to compensate Mr. Wagner up to 12,500. We'll allow Mr. Wagner, if he feels 7,500 is fair, or 10,000 or 11,000 or the full 12,500 is fair. We'll leave it with him, not to exceed 12,500.
Is there a second to that?
I'll second that motion. Is that gonna be acceptable to you?
Yeah, it would be. You know,
I think we'd
we
all,
could eat that up in one
Yeah.
beet harvester.
yeah,
Yeah, I understand that.
I'm gonna be using the old harvester, but that's got plastic too. All my harvesters are old. I wish I could pull the old piece of junk 3-row out of the woods to do it, but they don't reach high enough for the trucks nowadays. But you know, I believe me, everyone, I don't like this.
well, I'm like you, very disappointed with MCIT.
Yeah, I can't believe they didn't call me and say, let's go out there and take a walk.
Mhm.
I can't believe that. Where they decided not to do that, I can't believe it. It's wrong, plain wrong. And I mean, there's no way you can have this and this like this piled up and then go push it and not have a huge mess. And that's what we got. There's no way.
Other questions?
No, I don't
As
really
long,
feel,
as long as we can part on happy terms, I'm for that.
And like I said earlier, there's no winners in this, guys.
Mhm.
Make people.
No, an
I mean, we still
accident
got a
that
mess.
happened and
Yeah.
I'm not sure where we go with the future with plowing and fields, but it seems like
You
it
know,
may be.
I will work with young Engelstedt.
Mhm.
I will not work with Mr. Hewitt, Mr. Whiting, or Mr. Sanders.
Probably getting ahead on this, Chuck, but I think we've talked about these different things before about our snowplows going on our snow property, and there's a risk that a mistake could happen. Where we are with that, I think we need to address the future too.
Yeah, I think we're gonna have to have these things in written agreement form, yeah, with some legal review about what our liability is, otherwise,
too.
um, you know, you like to think you're working with people, and of course, in the highway department, they work with a lot of farmers. Not everybody always agrees, and I understand that. But to have an actual claim like this, and you know, staff doesn't agree with it, but I don't disagree with the disappointment from MCIT. But having worked with MCIT and other things, I'm not terribly surprised. But the board does have the ability to make this decision. I just hope we can avoid having to make it too often.
On the comment about working with property owners, and I field a call, and I mentioned it many, I think January, February, on into March of that winter, which it was a nasty winter. I can off the top of my head think of 3 farmers that had contacted me and complaining about what had happened on their property, and 2, if not 1 or 2 of those were never asked. And maybe they were asked years ago and forgot, but in today's environment, we should be, a letter should go out to the appropriate people, and hey, do you mind if the county goes on your property to sign here, and the terms and conditions of entering that property are expelled, blah, 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 and it's a 3-year agreement or a 5-year agreement or whatever, and done deal. And we would not be in situations like this. And I think, again, Mr. Wagner's been very forthright, very patient. It's time to bury this thing and be done with it. And Mr. Wagner said, stuff happens, and we get
Yeah.
that, and we understand them.
I think there has to be some precaution too in future cases where you don't get that dozer blade down on the ground. Get it up in the air so you're not picking up that. Well, get up there a foot or whatever. And
I push plenty of snow around our farmyard and rip up
You're always ripping up
rip
rocks or lawn.
rip up my wife's
oh,
grass, and
Mhm.
I hear about it for quite a while, and normally not after it happens, but
So spring
in
and
the
summer.
spring when the snow's melting.
okay.
So-
Try hide it with the next snow, don't you?
So I understand the frustration. I'll go this far. It's no different than city of Crookston plowing snow and damaging a curb across the street and plowing it in somebody's front yard. It's no different. It's no different. So, thank you.
Any further discussion? If not, could you review the, what the motion was, it up to 12,500, correct? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carried.
Thank you. Thank you guys for
Thank you.
people for your patience and all that. I appreciate it.
I think your patience was more of an issue than ours.
I try to be a good guy.
Well, you are.
Mr.
Okay.
Wagner, you'll need to get me something as to, because the motion was up to, so something that says what the number is at
12.5.
12.5, okay.
You'll work that out with Chuck then, apparently?
Yep.
I mean, that's,
I think the number is set.
Yeah.
I can't imagine that it would be any less than that.
I mean, insurance and a few grab rollers, it's used up.
Yeah.
gotcha.
Thank you.
Mr. Tannman, I believe you're up next. Morning.
I'm gonna give you the mouse here, Jim.
Come on. Morning.
Nope.
Thank you, sir. So we'll go through the June sheriff's report for our documented services. For the month of June, we had a total of 184, and our paid services is 5,851.86, and our no charge services were 1,633.16. For our transports for the month of June, we just were shy of our 7,000 mark that we've been at since we started the 2024. But we had a total of 6,963.4 miles for 141 deputy, 0.75 deputy hours for the month of June. We had our federal is staying really hard, and that's a hard thing to try to keep up on with our shortage that we have going on. We have to take and send 2 deputies at a time for each transport. It's not 1, it's 2.
Oh.
So that's being hard to find them, with making sure that the Justice Center, and we have people, and again, we know how that goes. We got vacation and training and everything else going on. So I just wanted you to be aware of that, but we're doing our best to make sure that we're taking as many as we can. So our medical services was only 56. Again, in-state was 2,653, out of state 2,518, and throughout the state is 681. Medical examiner 76. So, and then our federal, you can see, was 1,034. So continue to stay up on that. And then the calls in our dispatch center, we had 2,260, non-emergency 700, and then our other, we had 1,560. So 2,260 for the month of June. And then our calls for service, that's just showing the other diagram, most of them coming in from the wireless. Our calls for service, assist other agency 26, 3 assaults. We did disorderly conduct 2. We had 8 total domestics, 2 being the violent. And motorist assist, we had 12 for the month. And then our motor vehicle crashes, we had a total of 10, and 2 of them being injury. And then standout, we had a lot of reckless drivers. It must be the sun and must be whatever, but that's really high with that. So a lot of speeds going on. But total all we had suspicious activity being reported is 7 persons, 4, and then 1 with the vehicle. So traffic stops were 180 for the month of June. And that would take care of it.
You're gonna have to add a new category for next month.
What, fair?
Yep, demo derby.
Demo
Or the
derby?
Baja race.
Baja race?
Yeah, because they got every in the middle of the race.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so we survived the fair. It was warm, but it went really good. We had 1 unattended death, so we're waiting for the autopsy to come back on that. A person was found deceased, and no other suspicious activity that we're seeing at this time. But again, we don't have too much, not much with information we had on that, but nothing looks way out of sorts. But just some small stuff that we took care of. Some of the dock dogs not being in the a vehicle parked waiting to go for without running. So that's kind of disturbing. You'd think that wouldn't happen, but it did. But we dealt with that, and we had an intoxicated person that we removed from the fair. Other than that, it went really well.
They,
A lot of stuff going on, and you guys do a great job. So,
do
Polk County.
one of the races guy had his cell phone or something, or the airbag, they didn't disable the airbag.
Oh no.
And so it sent the report to the sheriff's office that there was an accident in town. The dispatched the deputies to find this accident. And it took them a while. They dispatched the ambulance, whatever, and they finally figured out it was in the arena. Oh.
Yeah.
So they either had their cell phone on them that detected the crash.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. The hard hit.
Yeah.
Yeah. I get it when I'm mowing lawns, so that's not good to call 911 when you're mowing lawn either. So
Good
I
question.
disable that.
You've had to do a lot of backup to crooks and police and that type of thing. Is there any statistic that shows you how many times your deputies are assisting local authorities?
Yeah, we have. That was the one where it's assist agency.
That's what I was curious. Yeah,
And I
that's-
think we started off with that one was 26. So that would be Boston, East Grand, or Crookston.
Yeah.
You know, when we're called, if we're dispatched to something, and then it turns to assist agency, or if it's the highway, like state patrol. Once we get there, do what we want, and if they take it, then we turn it to assist. But we have to do so much paperwork at least to cover what we did on the backside. So
Oh, that's becoming a larger part of the department with some cities not having local
yeah.
officers.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And really great. Everybody works together to make sure things are being safe and stuff like that.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Sheriff, on the first page, kind of jumped out at me earlier when I was reviewing it last night and this morning. The mortgage service 13, is that number severely up?
Mortgage?
Yep, probably down in the M,
Okay.
or where did I see it?
Yeah, I saw that too.
The services?
Mortgage service. Or, apparently somebody goes delinquent on.
Oh yeah. That's all tied into that's our documented service statistics. So if you looked at that for the mortgages, those are all the things that are filed with our office. Some get canceled, but these are the ones that go through our office that we either have to try to serve, or they're filed for mortgage foreclosure, and then we set up the sale on that.
But is that number up?
Oh, here
or-
they are. Notice of a mortgage foreclosure sale. It is, but not, I don't think for the number of people we have in our county, it's not too high. You know, that's through the whole county. So I don't think that's too high.
And that number is just for a month.
Yeah, that's just the month of June. These are the paperwork that goes through the month of June. That goes through our office, and the records keepers document it, and yeah.
That's 130 a year. But to me, that's a relatively high number.
30,000 people. But I don't have a house that's 700,000 and it's 10% these days. That's really changed a lot of people. So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's to own a house these days. It's not like how many years ago. So
Yeah, adjustable mortgages have got to change.
yeah, exactly. So
Okay, go ahead.
On a little side number or thought here, with all of the programs and benefits or other departments are offering officers either coming out of school or transferring and stuff. I wonder if we shouldn't have another conversation about maybe some uh, tuition reimbursement program. I think we could get a few. There's, from what I was told by the outgoing president of Northland a couple weeks ago, that the number in the law enforcement class this year is up close to full. There are some people coming out of there, so
Yeah.
maybe we should have a good discussion on what we might be able to do there.
my door is always open.
Well, you bring it up.
I invited you in the past. I haven't had anybody come through my door. So
Well, I would like to have a
Okay. I
good
appreciate
discussion,
that.
give us a proposal, or something like that, if you can put one together.
Okay. Okay.
I think that might get us some younger talent, and maybe if we lock them up for 4 or 5 years or during that replace, that reimbursement.
There's room for discussion there, but we've got till next May and next June. And unless we steal somebody from somebody else,
Yeah.
we'll probably be having anybody come through the door. So that's the hard part. And I'm not sure, to tell you the truth, my thing of trying to keep people going in our office.
A lot of frustration.
Well, they're working a lot of hours and a lot of different things, and they have smiles on their face, but we haven't hardly covered any boat and water. The extra shifts and stuff like that, hard to cover the fare. People are getting burnt out. So that's all I have for my report.
So you have a request for telecommunicator?
Yep.
Okay.
Next item on the agenda is we have a retirement in our dispatch center.
Who is that?
One of our Julie DeZiel,
Oh, she's
one of
been
our
there for a while.
telecommunicators are retiring at the end of the month, and just looking for approval to fill that position.
I move.
Is there a second?
Second.
And we have a second. Any further questions, concerns? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries.
Thank you. That's all I have. Anything else? Any concerns? Anything?
County Road 64.
Yeah.
Decoy car out there.
You bet. We'll do our best with that again. So
Even
I think we met Ashley, new employee out there. She was part of the negotiations, so.
for the dispatch center,
Mhm.
Do we have any new hires yet?
with our deputies, we just hired 2 full-time 3 weeks ago. And then we have our community service officer. So we'll be bringing them forward once.
Good.
For probation and stuff like that, but yeah.
Good.
One just turned 20, so.
It's okay.
on the recruitment side, on the
No, you're not.
conversation of reimbursement, I think there should also be with new hires, a bonus recruitment. If they have a buddy that they know of that's looking for a job, I'd be willing to compensate them, the new hires, for a referral or a friend to bring with them. I'm just throwing it out.
I hear you. There's a lot of nice things out there, but yeah, we'll put our heads together, and things been thrown out there before, so.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
No, we'll try to make that a priority or night.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, thank you much.
Have a good day.
I'm gonna
Karen's
catch you in
up.
the hallway, Jim. What was that? I'm gonna catch you in the hallway. I'm sorry. Dana was next.
Thank you.
Yep.
Good morning.
Again.
Good morning again. I'm here this morning for the agenda item of replacing a social worker in our disability services unit due to a resignation. So I'm looking at board approval to fill a social worker position and to fill any internal subsequent position vacancies occurring because of this action.
Okay, we discussed this a little bit earlier. Is there a motion to move forward?
So moved.
By Joan, second by Mark. Any further questions, concerns? If not, all those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed, motion carries. Good
Thank
luck.
you.
Sorry for the wait.
Do you really think we'd be on time today?
Dana Johnson.
Good morning.
Morning.
So this is a motion, a resolution to approve our Office of Justice Programs grant that we get every year. It doesn't cover 100% of our program out of the county attorney's office, but it does substantially help fund a portion of our budget each year. So usually we get about $105,000. This year we're getting an additional 15,231 as a one-time funding for updates and things that aren't already included in our regular budget. This was something that the state legislators passed. So it was, I believe, 14% of your total grant amount that they gave across the state to all victim service programs. So we worked with the state OJP office. We'll be using that for some updating some technology and other things within our office, including some additional direct client assistance funds that we have as discretionary to use for crime victims who have an emergency financial need because of a crime, so we can help with security deposits, rent that's owed, groceries, gas. We had a victim who had tires slashed that was low income, disabled woman that we helped get tires replaced. So it is a nice ability to have several $1,000s that we can use, but there is a criteria with that with the state that we work with. So yeah, so this is just our annual budget, and the Office of Justice Programs requires us to have an annual resolution accepting the funds.
Is there a motion to accept?
So
Is there a second
Second.
from Joan? Any other questions regarding the program? If not, all those in favor say aye. Opposed, motion carries.
Thank you. I will just let you guys know last year, so we run on a different fiscal year. We did serve 451 victims last fiscal year. So that equals out to a little over 8.5 victims a week that we deal with, and there's 2 of us. So we keep very busy, and we don't like to be that busy, but hopefully
Great to help people though.
Yeah. All right, thank you.
Need another cup? Okay.
That's all right. We'll take about a 2 or 3 minute recess here. Begin to resume. Mayor, could you come forward, and we appreciate you for showing up. I know you've been involved, I think, with Fertile for a number of years and other projects. So
Well, I moved in to Fertile in '68.
1968,
Yeah.
that's been a few years ago.
And, I've been mayor now. This term will finish up 8. So
8 complete
8 years. So Yeah, time goes fast. Those elections every 2 years, they come around pretty quick.
Oh, every 2 years.
Every 2 years, yeah. So,
Back.
well, I didn't have anything prepared.
No, go ahead.
Our staff is a little bit underloaded or overloaded, and with the fair, I spent a bunch of time in my son's booth there for spray foaming,
Oh, sure.
and I think I'm half cooked.
It was warm.
I keep thinking about, spray foam and that building and then putting air conditioning in it. It would be solid packed all the time because everybody'd be in there to cool off. So no, the fair really went good. Um, Always does. It seems like, there's quite a crew there that
Yes.
spend their time for free, running around, and nobody gets paid. So not that I know of anyway, So, well, let me just start a little bit on fertile.
Sure.
When I came in, 8 years ago, um, I ran because I thought there should be some changes, and I won. So we started to work on it, and we've done an awful lot. I think I'm really proud. Just the city itself is nothing to run. Um, we've got Splash Park all in and done. We've got an Olympic skating rink for the kids. We got a lot of improvements like in skis and you can go there and get a pair of skates or skis down to the nature center and no charge, and that gets people interested. And then they buy their own, and it just keeps exploding. We got a campground, unit campground. Well, Bud Nornis, he's kind of our champion on that. He puts money down right now for the next year. He really likes that, and that was plumb full this year. We learned a lesson there when we started it. Don't just take applications. You get paid because about a third of them, plans change and they didn't show up. So that was kind of a defeatist, but we got that figured out anyway. So no, there's a lot of good things. Streets in pretty good shape. We did quite a bit of work on with the staff, the maintenance men and staff on payroll and getting them up to average with everybody else that was way out of whack. And then, you can hire people to do more work, or you can get them better equipment to be more efficient. And we chose the latter. So we've upgraded our road grader like probably 5 times better than what we had. The old one had the crankshaft pulley welded on because it kept coming loose and falling off. Well, that was just a disaster waiting. We got a truck from MnDOT, so they got something. We got a payloader, uh, you know, all kinds. We used to have a real lot of problem with our little tractor that we use for mowing, all that stuff, bigger one. That bugger could cost you anywhere from $5,000 to $13,000 every year. Maintenance things, hydraulic pumps, this, that. Well, our friends at John Deere says, well, we can help you. So for $18 an hour, no minimum, we get a brand new tractor. Every 9 months to the year, they come and give us a brand new one. You cannot beat that. So, I mean, I see it. Our industrial park is mowed nice, everything. So, and then I can feel it in our staff. They're so much happier. First of all, they're getting paid square, with the world, and then they can get something done with their time, not just spinning wheels. So all of that stuff is working really good. The only problem, I guess, we have, and that's the nursing home. The city owns the nursing home, and that's been quite a challenge. And the council takes an awful beating, and I don't think any of it's justified. Um, Nobody knows the real facts except the council and the two staff. I don't know. A lot of people go on assumptions, and that's not right at all. And they get real vicious, some of them. It disappoints me. I can take it. I've been in the watershed world for 50 years, so I've been used to abuse, but the rest of the council doesn't need that. I know the attorneys and the auditors and accountants don't talk to the public. They talk to the council. And then we're in a lawsuit, so you can't, talk about a lot of things, you know. I don't know if you guys been in that sort of stuff here. I'm sure you have over time, you know. So that's kind of where we're sitting. Money wise, I think we've got three things on your plate. Um, I'll refresh them. The first one is, I think Wayne and I came here a few years ago, looking to get the county to match the city money that we put in for the nature center, and that's $10,000. And we're always so short. It's all volunteers. Nobody gets paid anything hardly, except maybe an intern a little bit or something. But it takes money to get teachers there and everything. And I think we analyzed at that time about 70% of the kids that come are in Polk County, you know. I think our best year we ever had was 3,000 kids come through there. So, you know, I've been on the board so long they don't know. They can't find a record. So I've been treasurer all the time. So I know what it's like to try to fund it, you know, and keep everything going. So that's why we had asked for that. And I don't know where that went, but we might go see Chuck and bring that around through again to see. Now that would be recurring. That would be a match each year, probably in the Parks Department or something wherever it would fit good, you know. So that's one request. The other one is we've got some money from that for a bathroom. We don't have handicap bathrooms out at the building. And of course, I don't have to tell you guys what it costs anymore because holy mackerel, you can't even begin to dream. You know, we got 144,000 that you gave us, and we went through all the plans and narrowed it down, and put out the bid, and it was like 240 or something. So we had to cancel that here in a meeting or two. And I think the staff is working with your administrator to try to figure out which way we go from there. You know, city doesn't have that kind of money in the difference, that's for sure. And but maybe there's some other ways we can do things. We just have to look at it. Now we got the fair done. We maybe have some time for that. So that's the second thing. And then the last thing, I wasn't here. I wasn't well, I guess, that time. And we asked for 500,000, you know, of part of that, or the AERP or whatever it is, funds. And I think I saw that was on your thing later today, probably, or something. So, um, and now that's just a one-time request. I heard confusion that was, and I think that was with the first one. You know, and it's just a one-time deal to try to get us through the low end and get it back up on top. You know, and we've been accused as a council as, you know, we don't care about that nursing home. And I'm telling you, you guys in that position, anybody would know that that's a lifeblood of town. There's 80 plus employees there, you know, they buy gas, they buy groceries, you know. Plus there's, you know, 42 beds of old folks, you know, and last year we lost 3 of them in Polk County, you know, that I don't know where people will go anymore if we can't keep it open. And so we're working our tail off trying to figure a solution to that. And then, so that's kind of it, I guess. Other than the nursing home, town is great. You know? Yeah. You guys got any questions? I'd be glad to answer.
Your schools certainly have been successful.
Pardon?
Your schools,
Oh gosh, yeah.
you're
Yeah.
proud with that, academics as well as athletics and activities.
Our why is the town, you know, you can't, a house comes up for sale and it's gone, poof, you know. And why is that compared to around, you know, there's no plywood on any storefronts, you know, everything's running. It seems to be running well, and that's not a norm up on in them little small towns, you know, not a bit. And so it's the anemones, I think. Uh, we get chastised for spending any money on, and that's just a small group. I mean, for spending any money on anything but the nursing home. Well, I calculated up yesterday if we got rid of the airport's been majorly upgraded too. If you threw that, what we have to pay out of that, all these other things, the park, the skis, the whatever, you know, it would run the nursing home maybe 2 days at the most. And we've had some outside consultants in on that know what they're doing. And they said, the last 10 years, if things would have been kind of on the right track, our 3.4 million in debt would be zero. So I might be stretching it. I don't know, but that's what the experts tell us. So I think I have all the belief in the world. There's hope. And, if you guys could see so fit, is that 500,000 a one-time deal?
It's a lot of money.
God, it is. Scares the heck out of me to even say it.
500,000 is for what specific project? The
On the nursing home is just keep it up and running,
500
being
on the
able to pay the
nursing
bills.
home.
See, when I took over, there's one of the things you look at is how much cash on hand to pay your bills. Well, we never knew at the time. You walk in, it's just like Paul walking in here, and there's a learning curve, But this last time when we had the auditor and we had the one of the representatives of Eid Bailey, they're in 20 states, so we didn't get a bean counter. We had somebody that could talk to people and get them to understand. And we had 20 people there. Well, she showed that, the average cash on hand should be 60 days. The year before we had 33, and the year of that audit, which is a year and a half or so ago, we had 6.7 days of cash on hand. But then the chart, I asked the lady to go back 7 years when I first got on, when I walked in. And when you looked at that chart, there was nothing there. So little Amanda Boseman, a new gal that wanted to learn about government, what did she ever, you know, how come that is? And the lady said, well, you have to have a whole day to get a line. It was 7/10 of one day. That's how much cash we had on. So I don't know, you guys maybe know and maybe not, but this nursing home business with all the regulations, they dump 20 or 90 pages a day on it, you swear to God, and they all cost a lot of money. And whoever's writing those up down there in the cities has no idea, where you're supposed to get this all from. And one thing is, we're looking at maybe trying to sell it, and that's altogether
Some
different than
rumors that-
closing it. I mean, somebody's got it open.
I've heard a rumor of that
Yeah,
anyway.
yeah, and uh, when you want to sell it now, there's rules a mile long on that too. The state says you have to have um, an appraisal of the property, before you can sell it. And the buildings are worth such, and the operation is worth such. Well, who knows where that ball bounces? I can tell you, but um, I guess in the long run, I don't think your money would be wasted at all. I wouldn't even be here if I thought it was. But we've got to take and be able to pay the salaries when those every 2 weeks comes by, and it's been kind of fun. I say there's I calculated about 15 dissidents that really get wild, and I can guarantee you none of them have any facts because they can't. It's emotion, and it's a real hard in a small town to get past that to a business, and that's a business.
What's your population now?
What is it? You remember, Paul, what the sign said?
It just came out. Chuck just gave us
800?
New one?
Chuck just
Eight
gave us that the
something?
other day. 8 something.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was on that. Just said it was 8:43 or something. I think.
Yeah, something like
Okay.
that.
43.
Mhm.
Question on the nursing home, bed-wise, resident-wise, has going back 10 years, has it always been, well, what's the max beds?
Well, I think in the old days it was up in the 80s, but then they cut everything back to single rooms, and it's at 42 beds and 17, I think, assisted livings. So, but we're
How many
we're
assisted
full just about all the time, and that's not normal in a lot of them around. But the place is known for the best of care. I don't ever hear anybody complain about the care they get over there. And
How many assisted living?
17, I think it is. Yeah,
That's right.
yeah.
Have you adjusted your rates at all?
Pardon?
Your rates, room rates?
Oh, I really don't know a heck of a lot about that. That whole system is really weird. Um, you would think the lower rates would bring you people, versus high, you know, but this, I think you guys in the state pay most of them, so it don't seem like anybody up on the top of the hill cares. What you spend. This is something that shocked to death, and I mean, what you spent 2 years ago on 90% of the things that are in there is what they put in the formula to pay you 2 years down the line. So the more you spend over here, if you can make it through the two, the more you get. Don't make any sense to me. It's you guys weren't lucky enough to have a business like that, did you? Any of you? No, it's a awful lot to learn. We've had consultants in to try to help us all, any way they can, um, suggestions is to sell it. Just they say there's these little ones on a 1 unit deal like we are can't survive. You need economies of scales like everything else. And I don't want that place to close. So it's too important to the town. I think it's important to the county. Um, where are you going to bring your dad or whatever?
Is your assumption if it's sold, it would not be operated?
No, it would be
It
operating.
would
Yeah,
be. So you
yeah,
still
yeah.
have the.
Just somebody different running it. That's maybe got a dozen or.
I just
or
wanted to
so.
clarify
Yeah,
that.
yeah. No. It's the idea is keep it open no matter how. And now the public says, well, we don't want it sold. We want it to stay local. Okay, well, if we can't run it in the long haul and you want it local, then where's local? Well, we've got Cornerstone over here that's in Foston, and he's got 5 units, and he's been very helpful. And to me, that's still local. The next step would probably be the Benedictine sisters, and who else. That isn't local. That's managed someplace way off. And, I'm a little worried that those places could possibly, take the beds and close the place. The beds are the value item. It seems. It's kind of like your license for trucking and everything else.
Liquor
So,
license.
so did I help you any? I sure thank you for calling.
No, we've
Hmm.
inviting local mayors to come in and kind of give us a little update of what's going on in their community and successes and challenges.
Well, we're all in the same boat.
We are well, and as you know, to offset needs or desires, tax levies and things like that
Mhm.
become big issues for a small city, and certainly as much for a county here.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So
I'm sure glad I'm not you guys.
we understand the frustrations of financing.
I got a question on the fairground. The actual grounds, the fairgrounds, is that owned by the city of Fertile?
No, it's owned by the fair.
By the
Yeah,
Federation
yeah.
of County Fairs.
The only little part of it's owned by the city is that campground in the corner
Okay,
on the
northeast.
west side there. That
Oh, yep,
yeah,
northwest.
where the big cottonwood is.
Yep.
So yeah. So last year we had an awful lot of construction workers in there for a long time, which was good cash flow. Um, they always live in it, like road construction around. They always live in a trailer, and there's no place for them. They were just happy as heck. One of them found it, and pretty soon it slumped. They all signed up. So this year we haven't had any, I don't think, but it's a good asset for town. We don't have any you know motels or anything like that. So and people come and park and visit their relatives and family and the fair time is really big with that reunions and all that stuff. It's a kind of been a tradition at Fertile for that. So did you all get to the fair?
Oh yes,
Yeah, I think my brains are cooked from it hot in that. And Paul, is there anything you can do about air conditioning in that Nelson?
We're gonna work on it.
Yeah. Oh,
I have a question for in regards to the nursing home. Did the home receive, there were COVID grants and funds
mhm.
available, earlier on? Did they receive
Yeah,
those
they
type of
got a
funds?
lot of money, and that's why they had 33 days of cash on hand the year before. And then when that dwindled, it started to crash, Um, the audit showed us we went down 544,000 that year from the beginning of that year of audit, and it's a September 30th to October, whatever. So that's a lot of money to go backwards.
What you had mentioned earlier, the conversion from the dual resident in a room to the
hmm
single. What year did that happen?
Oh God, that must be what, 15, 20 years ago, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that was a statewide project that happened.
hmm
That was the requirement.
And they paid you so much a bed to get rid of it, because those beds are valuable. And I don't know, the state must have thought they had too many at that time. And double in these little rooms and everything. I mean, it's a lot better quality of life with a single room. And
Oh, yeah.
there's no doubt about that. So um, the people in the assisted living, I've been meeting with the staff like once a month or so, and then with the people that live in the assisted living. That I met them a couple weeks ago, and they're all pretty happy.
Well, the care that they're getting, I
Yeah,
understand, is
yeah.
the staff is very positive.
Hmm.
And see, the state puts out these mandates. You used to have a LPN, and then you had to have an RN. Well, that jumps to now. If you have an RN running it, that's got to be spread over 17. Well, some of the 17 were pretty much like apartment living. They needed no services. So now and that's the part that made that really tough. So, um, got a really good gal running it, but it still costs money. And a while back, oh God, less than a year, uh, the state said that if you had a nursing home that had a hospital, like Villa does, we would bump uh, $5 an hour cash to you for all the staff. Well, you imagine what that, Monoman had that, Foston, you imagine what it did to Fertile. So all of a sudden one day there's 6 or 9 of them with we're moving. Well, the staff is so short anyway. I mean, we'd have been done right there. So we gave them all $4 an hour across the board, which didn't help our bottom line any, but it kept everybody happy. And I think one left, but that was for a different reason than that. She had some other things she had to do. So you never know what crisis is coming and which direction.
Those staff are now our city employees,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, they're under PIRA. So
You have 3.7 days of cash on hand. Is that what you said?
6.7 at that last audit. Yeah,
6.7.
and $544,000 backwards.
Yeah.
So
This,
What was it? How much?
544,000.
this $500,000, would that just be used for operating expenses?
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
then
Salaries and
in a few years, it would be gone, and then
yeah. Well,
you
by
have a
then
problem
we
again.
need to bring that thing back up.
You'd have to adjust rates or find some other way to have
Yeah, yeah.
increased revenue.
It's all crashed down so fast that we haven't had time to fix some of those things.
Yeah,
Short term, how are you covering the cash shortfall?
We're making it. We're making it so far. It gets pretty darn close. I know what was it, a year ago, last February, they didn't have enough to pay so then the city borrowed them $75,000 to make it, and um, the it was the government funds hadn't come. They were held out. And finally they came, so we got that paid back, but that one anyway. So
Yeah, but like I say, you just have to find some way to increase revenue,
yeah. Well,
whether it's room rates or whatever, but
remember them roommates? That's a 2-year.
but
So,
coming back, say to us or some other
yeah,
group
yeah.
for a bump up
Well,
in
we
money,
have an interim manager, in there, administrator. We got 2 of them, and the first one's back now on the third one, and they're working on all this stuff. And I wished I could tell you the whole story, but I can't because so. But
yeah.
believe me, we got a good picture, and we know what needs to be done, but to try to get it done, um, it's a trick. But I really enjoy going down and talking to the staff, um, and the folks that live there.
Mhm.
They're sharp. They're on the ball. They know what's going on. So they're all looking to save money, and bring up ideas and this and that. And and then in the initial time when I first came on, we had about 11 meetings of holy terror when we were talking about trying to straighten out and get this money deal back. And that's when we were at 7/10 of one day and didn't even know it. It was that bad. And so what we did, we hired HDR uh, or HDGs out of the cities. They have 2,000 beds and a consulting service for problems like we had. Cost $45,000, and everybody wanted one of these walk-in tubs for that. And I said, well, if we don't fix this leak, you won't have a building to put it in. So hardly a year and a half after they gave us a chart, and it's on our city website someplace about this big, says if you do this, you make that much, boom, da, boom, da, boom. And where we lost 360,000 the year before, they would have made 570. Well, when we actually put it to work, came out the other end, like I say, another year and a third or year and a half, we made 300 to the positive. So that's $660,000 turnaround, just by looking at what needs to be done and do it. So
I don't mean to ask financial questions, but of the 545 shortness, has that been in the last 12 months or 18
no, that would
months
be
or something?
back in a year prior to that. I think we're a year and a half out of an audit. Our auditors quit on us too. Eide Bailey, they and I've been accused that we can't get along with them. It wasn't that at all. They just didn't want to. They're short on staff. You guys are hearing it all around. And they just didn't have the time to put in something like this. And so, it used to be 16,000, I think. Then it was 19,000, and then the one I signed was 29,000 to do the audits. And 4 days later, they quit. So now we have to find another auditor too. So it's just constant. Um, but I ain't giving up. So, like I said, I don't think their money would be wasted, and I know you guys got lots of places to put it. I'm sure the list must be a mile long. So
Maybe a couple miles.
yeah, maybe a couple. I'll go to fine print and shorten it up. Yeah, anytime you talk free, and I don't like that at all. But it's,
Understand.
it is what it is. So. Like I said, I sure thank you. I haven't seen you, Mark, before, but everybody else here I know pretty good. So, yeah, nice to meet you.
My family is, my wife's family is fertilize, Beltrami, the
Okay.
Stromsteads and
Oh, it's Stromsy? Oh,
the
good.
whole clan down there.
It's
So
a small world. How many numbers do you need of all them clowns? They love calling me to harass me. They do. Yep. And that's your relatives, huh?
Thank you very much for coming
Yeah.
in. We appreciate what you
Thank you.
do.
If you got any questions, God's
We
feel
know
free
where to
holler.
call.
You know where to find me. Yeah.
Sounds
Okay.
great.
All right, thanks for
Thank
calling,
you.
Dan.
Thanks, sir.
Yep.
Oh.
Mr. Snyder.
Morning, everyone.
Morning.
Morning. Septic systems.
Yep, so we finally went through all our septic applications for our Fix Up Grant program. And I have 4 of those today that are action items. The first action item we have is for Richard Hernandez. He's seeking funding. He lives near the city of Gently, in Gently Township, Section 27, Parcel 29, 128.00. He's met all the qualification criteria to receive 60% grant allocation for funding. This would be to fix a failing septic due to that septic backing up into the house, and seeking funding for the income-based SSTS grant program. I do want to note, we got bids on this, and I'll go over the bids and things, but this amount in the packet of action is the total amount, 12,466. I will break out our portion of that, which I want in the minutes, reflected in the minutes of the exact total that the county will be chipping in. So this is the application we received. We got 2 bids from licensed installers. Just kind of some general questions we ask on our application. Location of things are always put into the factor of if we're approving or what our recommendation is. These are bids that we receive from the contractors. We have to work with our contractors to make sure that the bids are reflected on the same playing field. They're looking at the same system, not one putting in one that's really cheap. And, obviously your standard drain field system is a lot cheaper than your mound and your advanced systems. So all this money, I will mention, is a grant that we apply with the MPCA for funding to upgrade those failing septic systems. This year we received $41,615 in MPCA funding to upgrade failing septics within the county. And then we distribute as we see fit. We use USDA guidelines for household income, adjusted gross income, I will mention. And then based on that, we do kind of a sliding scale. Are we able to do 80% funding or 60% funding? It's just kind of how we've set our program up. Obviously, we've tweaked that, over the years, just seeing we used to do 75 and 90% funding. We made those adjustments so we could help more people across the board. So
Looking at the maps, that looks like a pretty nice home piece of property there. That's why I kind of wonder about the financial ability of that owner to do his own system. How do you rate that or determine that?
He noted on his application that estimated market value of the home is $264,000. So yeah, we're not talking about a mobile home or something. In our program, the septic system itself, based on your market value of your home, your septic system cost has to be factored in, because you need a market value of your home 3 times of what the system cost is, so that we're not fixing like something that really isn't worth fixing, if that makes any sense. We don't really go into anything other than their adjusted gross income. So if they're not making the money to take on a project like this, that doesn't necessarily mean they don't have it in other savings funds. So, but we don't get into that. We never have with our program. So if that's something the board wishes to do, I think we'll save that for how we're going to do our program next year. Today we're looking at 4 applications. We will have some money left over if we take on these projects. They did meet the application deadline to get their application in before June 1st. They qualify. I guess that's enough for our office to take in that application. Unless the board wishes that there be a cap. Some counties probably look into that. Is the cap on an estimated market value would be this. It's just that's not in our guidelines for the program right now. So,
I'm just wondering about the ability to pay.
correct. Yeah, and I guess on a year to year, our program has been very successful. We do want to use that money we get. We do not want to hold it from year to year to make kind of a backlog in the money coming in should go out to help septics get upgraded. I guess is staff's philosophy that if they qualify, we're going to try to help them out.
You have not had to turn anyone down.
We do not have an application on the table that meets the qualification criteria that isn't in the presentation today.
Okay, that was my
Yeah.
question.
Some years we do, and then we rank them accordingly.
Mhm.
But we've never taken into consideration the market value. That hey, your home is worth $500,000. We're not going to help you. We simply try to do some things with: is there a surface water near you? What's the status of the system? This system is very bad if it's backing into the house. It's actually considered an imminent public health threat.
Sure.
And those are the ones we prioritize. We want fixed. We want them fixed now. So that's why we just kind of carry the ball down let the snowball roll down the hill. We'll help you, especially if you're having issues like that. Nobody should have to deal with that on a regular basis where your septic is backing up into your basement.
I would agree with Mr. Strandell if the property was completed and residency was taken 8 months ago and so forth and so on. But I think in a lot of cases, life changes do come into play,
I agree.
working years and house values should be no reflection because income-based, this is an income-based program, correct?
Correct.
So income cash flow is critical in the application, so.
Yeah, and we have no idea. We're not requesting his saving account records or any, we're not getting too involved where we're ever going to have guidelines like that. But my suggestion moving forward would be we look at the program and we put some guidelines in there if we want to cap the market value of a home. Because I do understand your concern. We shouldn't be helping if the value is too high.
The planning commission would deal with that.
Actually, no, this is just action by
Or
the board.
The board could take that action.
Yes, correct. The planning commission doesn't get involved in these action items. I guess I should have clarified that. These are not,
No,
this
we
is
haven't
staff.
seen those. That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, this is staff recommendation. Nothing's set up in our ordinance that this needs to go in front of the planning commission. They would, if I brought this as an action item, they'd be looking at me sideways going, why are we talking about that?
I think there's some merit with following up with that, Warren Mark, and we should do that. But for today, if we don't have it, we need to take some action on these four.
Correct. That's my recommendation. We carry forward with what our guidelines are. Later this year, maybe over the winter when we're formulating our next year's program guidelines, then I'll bring it to the board's attention.
Remind us to do that.
We'll discuss that as well as some other changes we're looking at doing for the bidding of these to make the bidding a little bit more of a level playing field. So.
Anything else before we move on this one for RH?
I do want to note, I'm
Go ahead.
sorry. The county portion in this project would be $7,479.60. That's the 60% of the total amount, which is listed on the board packet as $12,466. The applicants are required to cover the other portion of that.
And that's of the $41,000 funds that you've received.
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
They submit a check to our office and we pay the contractor in full $12,466.
That even makes better sense.
Yep. So we know our contractors are getting paid. They submit that check to our office. That is a part of us actually issuing the septic permit.
Yeah.
as well as the permit fee that follows too.
Oh, that's
So.
great. That makes me feel even that much better.
Is there a motion to proceed?
I so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mark. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Moving on to the next.
Oh, this is Richard. So our second grant action item is for John Gullickson. Applicant has met the qualification criteria to receive 60% grant payment allocation. Lives near the city of Fertile in Godfrey Township, section 36, parcel 30.00234.00. He's seeking funding for that income-based SSTS fix-up grant money. We did receive 2 bids on this project. Estimated market value of this home is $361,000. 3-bedroom home. The house does not have a lift station in it. The septic is in disrepair and in need of fixing. We did get a really competitive bid here on this particular system. And I will just note that it is near a surface water, a wetland. This is just a wetland as a designation, but again, we're prioritizing these based on what is the status of the system. Is it near surface waters that could affect other properties too? So that is something that we do take into consideration. So with that, unless there's further questions, just need a motion to approve award low-income septic fix-up funding to John Gullickson to upgrade the failing septic system and award that bid to Olson's and Sons Excavating, who was the low bidder at $9,500. Again, that is the total cost of the system. The county would chip in $5,000 and $5,700 on this system.
I so move.
Second.
Any further questions or concerns? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries.
Okay, our next action item is for Jeffrey Spurl. Jeffrey applied for our same program, the SSTS Fix-Up Program. He's located near the city of Erskine in Canute Township, section 29, parcel 45.00406. Has met all the qualification criteria to receive 80% grant payment allocation. And this would be to fix the septic system on the site. Received 2 bids submitted by 2 separate contractors. Estimated market value of the home, $340,000. It is located on a lake. It's a homestead parcel on Lake Sarah. And projected location of a upgraded mound septic system. So with that, seeking a motion to approve the SSTS fix-up grant to Jeffrey Spurl to upgrade the failing septic system and award the bid to Olson's and Sons Excavating, who was the low bidder at $13,500 to install a new septic system. The county portion would be $10,800.
And that's still the 60%.
That is actually 80%
80.
grant allocation, correct? Yep.
So what's the driving force between 60 or 80 or?
It's different income guidelines. So if they're lower income, then they get put into our sliding scale of 80% grant allocation. And it's based on household size and adjusted gross income. So we have 2 sets of kind of a sliding scale based on the USDA. It is low income is the 60% allocation and very low income is 80% grant allocation.
Is there anything in between?
Nope. So
Gets back to that railroad thing.
Is there a motion to proceed?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any Questions, concerns? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carried.
Okay, and our final action item is to award the SSTS grant fix-up to Wayne Zachariason. Wayne has met all the qualification criteria to receive 80% grant payment allocation. He lives near the city of Fosston in Rosebud Township, Section 3, parcel 61.00034.01, and is seeking funding to fix his failing septic system. Received we received 3 bids on this particular project. I know you guys can read so fast, so that's why I do it. Projected location, this is again along a wetland here. Projected location of a 1-foot mound septic system. That would be the replacement system on the site. And like I said, is located right north of Austin. So seeking a motion to approve and award the SSTS grant to Wayne Zachariason to upgrade his failing septic system and award the bid to Ryan's Backhoe Service, Ryan Sherman, who is the lowest bidder at $13,591. The county portion of that would be $10,872.80.
Move to approve.
And a second.
Second.
Any further questions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carried.
Okay, I just have a discussion item that I'd like to discuss regarding an application that we received that didn't fall in line with our low income guidelines. They were slightly over. This particular application came in, they were, I believe it was 13% over the, 13% over the low income guidelines. For seeking funding through our SSTS Fix-Up program. I bring this to the board's attention because our loan program is really our carryover program if we did run out of funding through the low income program, the SSTS grant. So we've historically offered loans to people with some grant funding. Now, this particular application doesn't meet the qualifications to run them through the SSTS Fix-Up program. So I just wanted to run a couple of options by. When we run people through our loan program, typically we put in a 25% cost share on the project up to a max of $2,500. This funding is a little bit different than the fix-up funding because it is the leftovers from 3 years worth of septic fix-ups. The first 3 years we had our program, we actually ran it as a loan payback program. So they would pay that back over a 10-year period on their taxes, 0% interest. Now, the options for, the discussion item is, do we just deny the application because they're over the income guidelines? Do we help them with running a loan program and running them where we cover the cost of the system and then have a 10-year payback on their taxation without any funding that the county would put in? Or do we simply run them through our loan program and chip in 25% of the cost of the system up to $2,500? I guess I see its staff recommendation is we do want septics to get upgraded. We don't have to go through, we have several septics that are failing that have been for a long time, and we're working with our sheriff's office and our attorney's office to help force those to get upgraded. But it is our goal in our comprehensive plan to have septic systems that are upgraded and functioning and not oozing out the side of a hill. So because of its effect that it can have on neighboring properties. Currently, our our loan balance is $44,000. That balance continues to get paid back on other loans we've done in the past. But eventually, the more projects we take on, that is going to dwindle as well. I guess staff recommends that we should clarify with the board what is too much to make over the income guidelines where we're not going to run you through the loan program. Is that 15% over, 20% over, or we simply just say you don't meet the qualifications for our SSTS fix up grant, we're not going to help you with a loan.
On the USDA low income guideline, do they have an inflationary adjustment and or do they adjust it? How often do they adjust it?
This one's been in effect for a couple years. There hasn't been an adjustment, but in years past, they do adjust them on a 2-year basis, I believe. We had some really weird things where the USDA was actually grouping them where 1 to 4 households were the identical income, and 4 to 8 the number of people in the household. 4 to 8 was grouped, and we really didn't like that at all because to us, you could be one person household is the same as a 4-person household. That doesn't make any sense.
Zero.
So we're happy they're not doing that anymore. But the one thing is the MPCA does give the county the ability to do whatever sliding scale they want. We could make our own income guidelines. We just use our USDA because that's something we can say, well, this is the strict groupings. What else are we gonna, what else are we gonna use? You can pull a couple different income guidelines and kind of match them up, and we could make our own. That's not an issue. But the higher it goes, the more people are gonna come into the door. And I can see the slippery slope with this one is if we do it for one, we should have a set number. What percentage over should we allow them to even carry the application forward? If you're 50% over the income guidelines, that doesn't make any sense to me. We're not going to run you through the loan no matter what. But if you're creeping into that 15 to 20% over, that essentially she's essentially $6,700 over the income threshold based on household size for this application.
At
So
15%?
at the 13% that's presented today.
That's what I was thinking, 15%, but maybe that's too much.
I just said 15 to 20. Is that the threshold where we just say we'll help you, but we won't chip in any county funding to do so? Or we just simply don't accept the application and fix your septic on your own.
Circle back to, if you could, Jake, to is it by residence or head count in the property? Or is it by number of bathrooms on the property?
It's whatever you're putting on your 1040 tax form as household size. So whatever, it's not based on the bedrooms you have in the household, but the septic needs to be designed to handle that capacity.
No, I'm talking for your program.
Oh, the income guidelines are based on household size.
Household size.
What you are claiming on your taxes as your household size. Then everyone within that household income gets factored into the adjusted gross income.
So it's possible to have a single person in the same value home, not comply based on the USDA low income, and also a 4-person or family of 4 in the same house, the same number of bathrooms.
They would qualify.
They would qualify.
Yeah, correct.
I'd be in favor of a percentage above the minimum low income guidelines as long as those other criteria are dealt with in the application.
Yep.
And they'll stay in there. And I'm just throwing it out 15%.
That's what I would go with too, 15. That's
I-
what I was thinking.
Yep, and I want to remind the board, this isn't to approve this application. This is simply discussion items so that we can get on the same page. We didn't want them to move forward with any loan application until we kind of had this discussion. So this isn't an action item at all.
That's good.
I just wanted to get the number of how high is too high for income over
Yeah, I
our
would say
fix up.
15%, but then I think, we, even if you thought that the 2,500 and then they pay the rest, I don't have a problem with that either.
That's the next thing we need to discuss is if they meet that, does it mean we're chipping in 2,500?
Period, and then they pay the rest.
Okay.
As
Is-
long as we have a decent balance, I mean,
Yeah, we have a balance currently of 40,
change,
just
that will
over
change from year to
44,000.
right, that could change,
So
but
be careful.
but we can,
Well, yeah,
but that
that's-
doesn't have to be a standing policy, the 2,500. That can be based on funds available.
Correct. That
I think you're getting a little questionable there, because now you're
Yeah.
kind of going by year, changing it back and forth. I think you want something concise.
Yep.
Yeah. Do you know approximately how much is for funds out there being paid back? What that amount is?
it fluctuates every year because if a household we've ran through the loan program sells, typically that gets paid off and not carried over to the new owner.
But the money,
But then the money comes in
but the
in a
money comes
lump
in.
sum instead of the $700 each tax
Cycle.
quarter.
But you get the whole
So-
amount back.
Correct.
They owe you,
Correct.
and that goes
So
into the
that's
fund.
that's why it fluctuates so much.
Right.
We've historically grabbed one or two loans per year in our program.
Mhm.
And they're typically carryovers that we didn't have we don't have the funding through our fix up.
And you've
This
had,
one is that they don't qualify for our fix up, so
Right.
you're not getting any of that funding.
Right.
But we do have this pot that's just kind of accruing. It is a good thing. We have some carryover, but any given year, if we open it up to more,
It's gonna be
then more
gone.
applications can come in. And there is 44,000 is probably about 5 septics that you're helping to fix, in a given year.
5 extra with this
5
criteria?
extra if we get our MPCA funding. Yep.
With this criteria, too?
I just say the 5 because 44,000, it depends on what system, what site, how many bedrooms and all those
A
things.
lot of variables.
The price of those for septics, they're not going down. Material costs are going up, and as is labor.
But in there, it could be if there's excessive funds for that year. Otherwise, it wouldn't be available. If there's no excessive leftover funds, we wouldn't be able to offer it.
Correct.
That's,
If the balance on the loan program is 0, there is no program.
there's no program
Yeah.
for the extra funds.
Correct.
So that goes year to year.
The loan balance isn't getting funding put into it from any other entity other than paybacks of
Correct.
current loans.
Right. So you wouldn't be able to give a loan if there's no loan balance.
Correct.
Otherwise, that money just sits there. It can't be used. Because right now there's 44,000 sitting there, and we're not going to give it out this year.
This is the only one where we have an application on the
there's the only one
table
you got an application for.
Right.
that doesn't meet the fix up guidelines
Right.
within reason. I will say that within
Right, and
reason.
that's only for this year. Can they still apply right now?
Yes. Yep, we're still seeking applications to eat up the 6,000 leftover we have of our a fix up
Low income.
program.
What if
not
you
the
have
loan
others that
program.
come up that are lower income?
But you wouldn't use this.
Then they
until
would
the end of
fall
this
in
year.
our other program.
Oh, they would fall into the other existing program.
Yep.
Right. This is leftover fund, loan balance.
But what if I think what Gary's mentioning is someone comes in, is over the low income base, but then is over that less than 13%, like this person is.
They still only get 2,500 of the 44,000. from us.
Well, that's if
No.
we decide to do that.
I'm going to clarify this program a little bit more on the loan. The loan is that we pay the contractor in full
get it.
to
I
install
get
the
it.
septic.
Yes, you're
And
right.
then through the next 10 years of
Yes,
taxation, we'll
yes,
pay
yes,
that
I
system
get it.
back.
Yes, I
So-
understand.
Yep. So if the system costs $12,000, that's coming out of the 44
Yes,
right now.
yes,
Right.
I
Mhm.
misunderstood that. You're right.
Mhm.
I guess those that don't equal are, they're not carryover from our fix up. Okay. I suggest that we do not chip in 25% or $2,500. Still run them through the loan program, and they will pay the entire balance over a 10-year period
Yeah.
on taxation.
Mm-hmm.
To get into the loan, they have to pay us a down payment anyway to kind of start the process. We have not even contacted the landowner as this loan being an option yet.
Right.
That's what we're discussing right now. They can then decide, do they want a 0% 10-year loan
Right.
with the county
Mm-hmm.
to fix the septic?
Mm-hmm.
There is no carrot that's dangling in front of the horse.
Right.
This is just simply an avenue for you to get funding to fix your septic now.
Shoot, we might run out of money we might run out of money anyway. If
Well,
there was
the
10
thing
people.
is that's why I wanted to tackle the percentage over first. So then we get an idea of where are we at. If you're 20% over the income guidelines for your based on your household, we're not gonna support you getting the loan.
Correct.
And then it's a case by case basis anyway. That's why I bring you individual action items.
Chuck, you wanna come in?
I was just gonna say, I mean, we're spending a lot of the time on the qualifications, which is totally warranted, it's good conversation. You don't wanna, I don't want you to forget what the intent of the program is it's a groundwater
Yeah, it's a groundwater issue.
program.
Yeah, I
program.
understand.
So anything, you're trying to make it feasible, relatively easy without just giving away money
Right.
to have these systems fixed up, and it really only applies to the rural properties.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
I think for now, just to open up the low income guideline
Mm-hmm.
to 15% over.
Is that gonna be too low?
Cap it there, and if we need to adjust it next year,
I agree with that because there should be a little freeboard for those that are just over the income guidelines.
Yep.
That's why we tell them to put your application in and we will handle them on a case by case basis.
Yeah, there you go.
But if you are way over the income guidelines,
Yeah.
we're not going to waste staff time because
Yeah.
we already know we're not going to support your
Right.
project.
Yep.
Right.
You can seek a loan through other avenues
Mm-hmm.
or
I
sell
agree.
some equipment if you're a
Mhm.
contractor,
Yeah.
whatever.
And so this particular application, I mean, they're not close to wetland or, a water system, ditch, lake.
In Onstead Township is where this is located, and I don't believe they're on a wetland or anything. I'm sure there's a ditch out in front of the house,
Right,
but no, I don't believe there's wetland near like the others that we went through the low income guidelines. So, or the low income program.
Yeah, and so I guess, can you, like soil separation, what exactly is that?
In Onstead Township, typically it's not all that far you have to dig before you're hitting some indicators of wetness. Silts, clays, they're kind of right on that ridge and fringe boundary where you're in heavy clay and silt. You don't have to go too far to see indicators. So most likely, I'm assuming this is going to be some type of mound or at grade septic system, not in ground trenches. Which if they have in ground trenches, which they do, it just goes into the groundwater and it's not getting any treatment. Is that affecting anyone's well around them? Most likely not. It's
Mhm.
most likely not affecting their groundwater in their well, but it could. Just because of you got a deep well
Right.
You're surfacing.
Mhm.
It takes a long time to get down into the aquifer, no matter where you're at.
Mhm.
There's just zero treatment when it's going right into your
Right.
groundwater.
Mhm.
There is no treatment happening. So the likelihood is there that minute amounts of bacteria and fecal coliforms are getting in your well. Just like feedlots and things that,
Just like the deer and the antelope.
yep, just like all them native creatures too. Yeah, I just wanted to get some direction. So what's our numbers, and we will reach out to the landowner and see if they're interested in filling out the loan application. So
All right, is that it?
ready for the punch in the mouth?
What now?
I just got a call from the DNR yesterday. Union Lake has been designated that zebra mussels are confirmed in Union Lake.
Yeah, we
Old
got
news.
that. It's old news. We've been through it twice.
Oh,
She said it.
We've
at the
been through
forum?
it twice
Okay.
Yeah,
already.
yeah, because
So-
Shane had actually sent me a text yesterday afternoon after he got the call.
Myself and Shane got a call from Minnesota DNR. So we'll be having a task force meeting soon.
That's what I kind of figured. There was a question last night. First thing we got the eyelids at Union, right? About
Yes, they would
somebody-
not be able to detect a zebra mussel on somebody's watercraft or anything like that. Mainly for weeds coming in and out.
Right,
Please,
yeah.
Can you pass those around? It's just the
Um,
news release that went out.
I guess, the question last night was about inspectors not being at Union much. I don't know.
Since
Just overall.
opener, I've had a inspector on Union Lake every weekend.
Yeah, I think I think there was a comment about that there weekends, but like not necessarily during the week.
I'm not even gonna go swimming there because I don't want a zebra mussel on me.
I wouldn't be fearful of
already
swimming
have
in Union.
I already have it.
You got the DNR press release. It's pretty much the same, but that is the local media outlet that I put out to the papers and the radio stations that are in our area. Yeah, no, it's says really disheartening news. There's no way we can staff the access site 24/7. That's just not even possible in our budget. But we do want our lake users to be aware of it now. And we don't want it to spread to other water bodies if it already hasn't. So we need the public's help and our lake users. It's just gonna spread and spread and spread. And so we there's no way that our department can man an access site 24/7. It's not gonna happen. It's not even
No.
feasible.
No.
So
And I think too that I don't know that they were aware, because I think they were thinking it was the DNR that does the inspections, not realizing that it's the county and it's only part-time help and
I retained one of my inspectors from last year. We advertised that position 3 times this spring, and I was just able to get another inspector middle of April to get trained up. That was actually a friend of our current inspector, which they're doing a great job for us. There's no question about that. But for us to get people in the door even for an interview has been challenging as well, probably for the last 3 years now. But we will continue with our inspection program. There will be a presence on Union Lake, especially. Why we do the weekends is that's our peak usage. That's how we get, they're out there, they're doing 25 inspections in a given day, 50, 70 on Maple. We can't put them out on Tuesday where they get 2 watercrafts. That's just not going to happen. But it is a gut punch.
yeah,
So.
because we have the zebra mussel kits out there too, correct? And nothing ever showed up on there.
They've been checked 3 times and we haven't got a hit on them. I don't know if it's just that there's peak breeding going on now. The last time it was checked was about 3 weeks ago. So there could be things attached to it now. I don't know. We're gonna pull that here on Thursday and take a look, at least clean it off and take them out. But yeah, no, it's definitely was not a call I wanted on a Monday. So,
No.
but
It was bound to
We'll talk
happen.
later.
yeah, we just don't, like I said, we want our residents and people using our lakes to be aware. We're gonna get the tag on the access site that zebra mussels are present. It just adds another one to the list on the Union Lake. We got curly leaf pondweed, Eurasian water milfoil, and now zebra mussels in there. So
Do you think that now that contamination unit should be put in that parking lot, even though it's gonna take a spot?
the only concern I have with moving the CD3 over there is how people use it without being a traffic block to the access. We'll evaluate that on our task force meeting. It's a good idea. I just want to make sure we place it in a spot that
Right, that it's accessible and not
people
blocking.
can pull off and not have to have somebody there waiting to launch their boat if there's an open spot. There are a couple of different ways to get on Union, and that's the thing that is really concerning is you have the campground on the east side of the lake that has a private launch,
Right.
and then you have a carry-in access on the east side of the lake that's in disrepair for boats, but you can certainly carry in canoes, kayaks, all the such. So, but you got a second so I can ask them your calendar? That's all I have. So.
All right, thank you much, sir.
Okay. Busy meeting today. As we're getting into the budget here, and I know the board received some inquiries about ARPA money earlier in the year, thought maybe we ought to revisit this before we get too much further.
Okay.
Gave you a report. Ron had provided for me that there's about $1,339,000 left of ARPA money once we account for commitments we've made through July in the 2024 budget. We've had some discussion in the past about no longer taking applications, but obviously can't prevent groups, individuals from asking for funds, but perhaps some guidance going forward as to the 2 or 3 that are out there. The board had the Fair and Fair Meadow nursing home make requests to you, and I also noted that in my memo that the Agassiz Educational Learning Center agreement was approved by the board last year about this time for $144,000, but they have not progressed on their project. That agreement expires December 31st of this year. So my guess is they've got, as you heard from the mayor, they got a few things on their hands down there. I don't expect that one to come back in the next 5.5 months, but certainly I have to have that conversation with them about their intent. So the $1,339,000 is about 22% of the original amount that we received, and it is perfectly acceptable. And we've kind of viewed it this way, I have anyway, that's now for internal purposes, meaning county expenses, part of our fund balance. If we push it out, I think we want to do it in a way that meets the objectives of the ARPA money, but I think we're past the original intent of that program. So if you have any comments or discussion on it, I'd be,
Well, I think there were some dollars that we had, added. We haven't really chosen what financial software we want to go with. I think we've all agreed in the past that it's necessary. And that was around 1.3, 1.5.
how much?
I mean, it was,
It's about $1 million.
It was about $1 million.
About $1 million.
yeah, it was about $1 million.
That was how many years ago? 3?
That was
4?
about 4 or 5 years ago now, and that was over a 5-year period because there's no way you
Right,
could do it
yeah.
all at once.
Yeah,
Right.
you can't, right.
But I mean, that was one source to offset
Yeah.
that cost.
Mhm.
And, we certainly are going to have some things with environment, a lot of expenses there. And I guess I really think we've got the 1.3 already committed without looking at any other options. I received an email last week. I think I forwarded to you too, that senior citizen requesting funds. And I think it's going to be endless until we decide what we're going to do with this 1.3, where the real priorities are.
Yeah.
My comments.
My problem is I don't want to use this money for operating expenses. All that does is fund a gap for a few years, and then you got the problem all over again. I don't have any problem with the money for the fair or that bathroom issue. I think that would be good. But as far as a nursing home, they need to make some adjustment in their rates or their income. Probably a little harsh way to say that, but
That's a tough business. I
Mhm.
empathize with what they're going through down there, having had a city and a county nursing home. It is a difficult thing to be doing.
I think it's very valuable resource there.
Oh,
No
clearly.
doubt about that.
It's a calculated finance and reimbursement that, as the mayor said
Mhm.
2 years ago, it's you're always chasing that
Mhm.
ball
Yeah,
or
but their rates,
anchor. I should say boat anchor, because just the inflation and food costs and utilities and labor costs eats that up. Their deficit is approximately 14% yearly of just salaries, and that's ridiculous. So,
No easy answer to that one.
no.
No.
Question, Chuck, of the 1.3, is that's not the requests that are on the table? So
No,
technically, if we were to do the request on the table,
come out
we'd
of
be
that.
at zero
Mhm.
or close to zero.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't remember what you were asked by the nursing home. It wasn't the fair about
They
$500,000.
both were.
Yeah.
Well, they both were. Well,
Yep.
yeah, okay.
Was the fair that much?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And I guess, I look at it like, we have pushed a large amount out, to specific, entities within the county. And like now, because we had already given to the fair. And we had committed to the learning center. So for me, I think it can be more to keep it intern or, to use for, like not exactly like, like you said, operating expenses. But, I look at, we've done, quite a bit to highway, but, to help to do another project, to get that off the books. So we, because I know Rich wants to add the wheelage tax. Well, if we put some more of this towards highway to alleviate, that discussion. I just feel that we can benefit all of the residents better by using it internally.
Keep in mind, we did 1.8 million for highway. We've done 600,000 towards the landfill. We've been using it in social services for a number of things. We are going to end up weaning some of that off, say absorbing the operating expense. But you're correct. But generally speaking, when money runs out, the program has to stop. That pertains mostly to social services and public health, and they know that. But we've also used this to help buy down the levy, which has helped.
Helps everybody in the county.
Helps everybody in the county. It gets a little bit of a twist on your we shouldn't use it for operating expense because we can argue that that's it, but that also includes the capital and all the other things. But I think we've been pretty responsible with this, and of course if we count it like we do fund balance, well, we do that with fund balances as well.
Excuse me. Was there a spend it or lose it date?
Yeah, there was it's I think it was moved back to 2025, but that's where, because of our size, relatively small, I think we're in the category where you can use it for general operating. I don't expect that we're going to be in a position having to give any of it back. We've had the 2022 audit done and no issues there. 2023 is trying to start right now. And I'll probably sit down with Colleen and make sure we got our books in order on some of this stuff. There's still some loose ends that I worry about, but generally speaking, it has been project done, cash out. But yeah, it's over 2 years old now.
So everything I've heard today, I'm kind of doing this in my head and got a conceptual deal. But if the 500,000, I'm just spitballing when I throw this out. Is it possible to allocate that 50,000 a year or 100,000 a year, as long?
You can, and I think if I remember right, early in my time here with the county, the fair did do a building of some sort, and we contributed more than the $20,000 at that time to help that. And if they, I don't do their business, it's not my job, but if they do financing, that may be a way of looking at it. At some point, I think it just becomes kind of less important that you're allocating that money rather than just county money on an annual basis. Because if it ends up in the general fund, it's basically the same as tax dollars. You're just using it for that. I would think that if you're serious about assisting the fair, you'd be looking at some sort of amount to leverage the rest of their financing. But again, I wasn't at that meeting. I was actually a meeting that I was not here for, but $500,000. There's a lot of things that you could do with a $500,000 building.
Well, that was only half of the cost.
Well,
Yeah, but I think that we don't need to focus on the total because that was a number that was presented. I think they would be accepting of an amount, like just the way they presented it at that time. I think when I spoke last time, I think their goal is that if we look at it, like I said that last time about the bathroom part, bathrooms are the biggest concern, and we know what they cost. But that's mostly all I have to say about the fair part. I really feel for the city about their dilemma they're in. But I think there's some changes, like you said, they're in a tough tough spot. They have to make some decisions, whether it's internal, whether it's citywide, whatever they have to make those choices. I don't know if bailing that part out, or if that's the right word or not. Um, you know, they might have to increase their tax base. I don't know the answer
You
there.
almost have to, either that or sell the property.
Mm. If
I mean,
I don't want to see the place closed, and I don't think that's anybody's mission is to see it
no,
closed.
of course not.
You know, it is a viable uh, part of the community, and there's a lot of people that work there, and everybody loves the place. That is not the question.
No.
It's how it's been run, and whatever the issue, it doesn't matter what the internal happenings were. That's none of us are going to know that.
Right.
That ain't the issue here. But for us to speculate of and to take care of that, that's hard. But the fair part, I think if there was a number we could come up with, and you know,
Was it,
The 500,000 is way too much
yes, it
per
is,
bathroom. I
and
mean,
that's fine. That's fine,
I-
and I think they'd be okay with that. You pick a different number that I think they'd be happy with. You know, if you want to look at 400, 350, you
that's
pick a
even a
number.
lot.
I understand that.
Yeah, because I mean, when you think about that, the fair doesn't even run a week.
I understand that.
It cost them $5,000 to rent the portable ones. I was in the other ones. They were adequate.
Hmm. But y-
$500,000?
but well, that's for the portion, and then they don't have.
The biggest part of their project is to tear down another building, put up another building,
Hmm.
Move one.
and move one, and just
Hmm.
add a few bathrooms. Really, if you look at the plan, look at the plan. You know,
would it make sense to have a challenge grant, so to speak? We'll provide so much dollars, you raise it, fundraising?
We can present with
Yeah, I
it.
don't think
At
we
some
want to go
point,
down that route.
you have to be
they
careful you're not doing their job, which,
Right.
they've got money. I
yeah.
mean, they know how much they want to put towards the
Hmm.
project.
They know how much they have to
Yeah,
raise. I know
yeah.
that. They know what they have to raise.
And they know, and they also came forward with the amount that the bank is willing to finance for.
Hmm.
So,
And I don't know those numbers. Fortunately, that's great. I didn't want to know them. I told them you do what you do. I don't want any part of that part.
How much does the fair take in gross revenue?
During this part, like during this,
Yep.
geez, that's a hard thing. I wish I had last year's thing. I'd tell you the exacts. Um,
Ballpark.
Ballpark expenditures maybe 250, and then expenditures about probably 150, 175. Maybe we're left over of 75, maybe something like that. Close. I don't know the exacts. It's all.
Careful, people think you're doing this.
Well, they know that.
I was gonna say, yeah, they'll figure it out.
So it's really hard to say.
You opened your
I
up for
thought
that
if
one.
we came up with some flat amount toward this bathroom,
Hmm.
say it's $200,000,
They would take it
and
and
they would
smile,
take it and they could finance the rest
and they would
however they
smile,
want to do it.
and they'd smile. I think that they would be happy with whatever.
Make sense?
No,
Mhm.
I still think 200,000. I mean, we have other things we could spend money on.
Yeah.
Yes, we do.
We are accepting two coming in.
2 weeks,
Well,
two meetings
I
in a
did.
row of over $1 million.
Over $1 million without giving any other thought about any other request that the county might have. What East Grand Forks, what Berkson, maybe Fisher. I mean,
That's why I put it on here as part of the budget discussion, because the budget itself, and we're gonna be working on that for 5 more months.
Mhm.
Well, the total money, that income or the total ARP money, what was it again?
About 6.2 million. So we've spent about almost 5 million already.
And of that 5 million, how much has been consumed by the county?
I'd have to, well, off the top of my head, because the easy numbers are 2.4 between the million between the landfill and highway,
Right.
and then the rest of it has been some social services. We actually did his position and this as part of that. Some public health,
I'd like,
an accounting of that.
I'd like
Yeah.
to see that list because
Try to
I'm
review
of
that.
the opinion of the 1.3, we don't allocate, we don't spend it down zero. I think the county needs to withhold, I got a number in my mind, but I'd like to see the percentage of the gross that the county's consumed so far in reflection to how much we, of the 1.3, we retain here. And I remember throwing it out when we first got this money. We probably should earmark how much we're gonna consume ourselves and, or what percentage of it. And looking back, we probably should have done that.
No, we did. It was essentially, we essentially approached it as 50-50. You know, just as a guideline. It was not based on anything, but you know, get money out into the community where it's needed. Use the help it, have it help the county for recovering from the pandemic and the economic situation that came with that. So this discussion right now about what to do on outside the walls, I kind of have these same discussions with department heads about inside. And I go back to the what you qualify or characterize your need. You know, somebody comes in and says, I need ARPA money to do this program. I'm like, well, what do you need to do the program? Because straight up, I can say this is, I can work with you and say this is just part of the fund balance. We're at that point, I think. I think we've done what was the intent, and we haven't spent it all knowing that we have just our normal budgeting issues and the things that drive us. So yes, it's important, and I find myself explaining this quite a bit. It's important because there were categories that were the money was to be used for, and we spent time fitting it into that. I used to show you a spreadsheet, which I haven't maintained because we really haven't done much for a
Clean
couple years.
water is a good
Clean
good
water.
example.
Part of Jake's money came from that. We had that, and we had what we used to have, so we actually had more.
And the water district.
The water district, that was a big one. What can you do to get the most bang for the buck? I thought we did a pretty good job and you know, worked out well. These other issues are coming in now. I'd have to say I'm not sure where the fair fits into recovering from the pandemic. To be honest, the nursing home, you could make that kind of a connection, but I think it's like a lot of things right now, trying to find qualified labor.
It
Just
sounds like they received some COVID dollars.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
was, they were an entity
Right.
that were eligible for other COVID money. I mean, from all those different,
I have to check. We may have done some CARES money because
yeah.
I think we did something for all the nursing homes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
to
we
cover
did.
their costs.
Yep. The nursing homes, assisted living, all those, you know.
So where I'm going with your question is at some point the intention of the funds to recover from the pandemic, I think that part has been achieved relatively well. But the ongoing residual, just to help basically address the tax levy itself, I think for the 2024 budget, that was kind of where we ended up going. And to Gary's point about the software, I thought we could do the software out of all the different fund balances before we had the COVID or before we had the ARPA money. But it's there, and I think it helps just relieve that. But I think we're gonna have to revisit. I got so many issues to get to before we
Right.
address that. But it is there, and when we see it,
It's a need. I mean, we're functioning without any.
Need it more and more.
yeah.
Well, we did dodge a bullet with the 350,000 with the Historical Society. Okay,
That was-
we
well,
we don't we
we
voted
levied
on that
we
and we
levied for
passed
it.
it, and we said and we dodged that bullet.
That
Okay?
wasn't this money though.
That was,
No, it wasn't this money. It was in the budget, but if we're going to talk about fund balance, that was in that balance. And you said what about Climax? What about Fisher? I wasn't around here when Climax got their money for the pipe. I understand that. It's all a different entity, comes from a different fund. All I'm saying is we just need to look, everybody gets their money in time. And I'm not saying that the fair should get some or not get some, but we just need to make sure that we are all calm, cool, and collected. I just take offense at certain ways. We all get money at certain times, and yes, we have 1.339233.17 left. If you want to leave it in the fund balance, then let's just say so. And if that's what we're gonna do, then that's what we should decide on and do. But whether we need it or not, but I remember during last year's budget, remember, I'm new at this, but I do have a good memory, that there's gonna come a time when there's gonna be an excess. And remember, I'm pretty sure you all remember, that we were gonna have, if we have an excess in our budget of $2 million, we talked about this, how are we gonna return that? Well, we're not gonna give a rebate back to the community, because if we have an excess in our levy, I said, are we gonna give a rebate? Are we gonna give a tax refund to our citizens?
I don't want to question your memory. What you're getting at is that the bond payments for the jail go off the levy
on.
for the 2027.
Right,
So,
we just need to make
but
sure.
that has been cooked into some of
Yeah.
our use of fund balance
Right,
and so forth.
exactly.
It's not suddenly money in hand. You still have to decide to levy for it against the operation
Mhm.
costs of the county.
I just wanna make sure that we don't have extra in, because we did raise taxes, a lot of them in, because remember we had a big tax hike on the lake property and everything, remember we
It's
all,
not a tax hike, that is a
Value-
shift in value
value,
that
yes.
I want to say
Yes,
proportionately now,
yeah,
they're paying their fair share.
I agree.
It's a shift in value. I only say that to be careful with how this is portrayed,
Trade, yes,
so that it
exactly.
doesn't create confusion. All of a sudden, people start thinking that we're gonna be cutting checks to them.
Yeah,
That isn't how this goes.
that ain't how it works. I understand that. I agree. But just so it's not portrayed in a bad way. I just want to make sure if we don't want to divvy out the rest of the ARP funds and we want to use it as fund balance, let's just leave it there and let's don't.
Well, that's where it is until you decide to do something.
Yeah, well,
I think we're at that point, and I think it's important to get the breakdown of where the money has gone,
Mhm.
how much the county totally has consumed, and see if we're close to that 50-50 situation to make a decision on this final 1.3, and then to Paul's point and Warren's point, say, okay, we're only going to allocate 10% of this or whatever that
Mhm.
magical number is,
I
and
can
consume
identify.
the rest of it for whatever.
because if there's no money there, there's no money there.
Yep.
We just, if it ain't there, it ain't there. We don't give it up.
But to your comment, like in regards to the bond for the jail, just because we get the bond paid off doesn't mean that that goes away. I mean, per se, because we still have to look at the maintenance and the upkeep of
I
that jail.
understand all
which
of that.
costs, You know,
Hmm.
so,
I understand that.
One thing in all of this is that every organization out there looks to the county for money. I
Exactly.
mean, they're all
Yeah,
mhm,
thinking we've got money and
Hmm.
we can't be the mortgage or the loan event to every city in the county. That's why cities have their own budgets too, and
Mhm.
organizations.
mhm.
Um,
I mean, we're tasked with, certain services.
we'll be looking at again here now in another few months on this fund that had money to the fair, as all these other different organizations,
Appropriations.
appropriations, right? And I think there's been kind of a discussion to limit that, or at least bring them into the budget, rather than opening up for the Polk County Animal Shelter to come in. I mean, they need money. They've asked money. We given them, I think, a few thousand to help with that. But
It all gets mixed into the pot, and I will say that for simplistic views, consider this 1,300,000 to be part of your fund balance. We go through the budget, figure out where it fits, whether it's the fair, whether it's a nursing home, whether it's a road project or union contracts, whatever the issue is, it fits into the big picture.
true.
So by end of November, we've got a pretty good idea, while still trying to minimize the increase of the county's levy,
Yes.
I think we're able to do that knowing that we're going to see those bonds paid off in a couple of years. We'll end up probably having some discussion at some point about how you pay for the highway building, when you do that, how you do that, where that money comes from, because it's not necessarily all on the levy either for those bonds. But
That's another,
that's a lot of discussion. That's not, here you go, let's
Mhm.
get going.
right.
It's 90% of the work is the planning part of it. The building of it is actually, well, we don't always have that experience. That's the easy part, but it's the shorter part.
that
So
whole highway project, you have to wonder if the office portion of that building needs to be replaced. It looks like it's very functional to me. It's just the storage part that has the big roof problem. And maybe you can just rebuild that roof. Instead of having a $15 million project, you probably get by for one or two. And
this is why I say, well, we're going to have a lot of discussion on it,
A
because
lot of
there's every
discussion.
option from doing nothing to doing Taj Mahal, although we're not going to do Taj Mahal, but it'd be great if you could make it the fair building, and use it 51.5 weeks out of the year.
Chuck, on the bottom of that projected balance after the July transfer,
Mhm.
I get that and I understand that. Will there be other months or quarters transfers? Is that the actual at the end of the year?
I'd have to ask Ron. He's got, I think I think this is the amount at the end of transfers for this month. So there might be some more that's in the budget to go out. Where it's going out is social services. Well, right here, IS. Highway, that is, I believe, complete. And
I think we need to, I mean, all this discussion is good. And the
mhm.
bond issue to me is a general operation operating over here. I look at this money as it's its own box of money, and we gotta nail that down
Mhm.
even better and harder, so we can make some fundamental decisions. Do we, whether this number is 1.3 or only 900,000 because there's transfers in November. We got to nail that out because we can't. Last thing I want to have happen is we say yes to somebody and, oh,
We're short.
We're short.
Yeah.
It's
We haven't said yes
promising the
to, the
kid,
only ones we've
you
said
give him
yes to is
$20 and he only got
Agus
15 in his
Learning
pocket.
Center, and they haven't come for the money.
Yeah.
So
And I think too, you know, that, I mean, no matter where the source of this money was from, it's still taxpayer dollars.
Yep.
You know,
That's real dollars.
Yep.
And to be able to use it, I mean, you're talking about a refund. We're not giving people a rebate,
Mm-mm.
but you certainly can get that levy down to 1.5,
Exactly.
which is the same
The
thing.
thing is a rebate.
So
Exactly.
everyone gets a benefit.
Benefit from it.
And
Exactly.
I like
That's
that.
my idea. You betcha.
Now,
I agree.
we agree 100% on
I
that.
agree. 100%. That's what my goal is.
I'll follow up and get the accounting more. I can recognize here, and you will remember this. This 50,000,
that was
that was for the
the septic.
Jake's
program.
septic. It was the only thing ready to go
Yep.
when we got the money and we were doing the budget.
Yep.
2022. Well, I know we're going to have uh, the West Central Regional Water District.
Mm-hmm.
That Climax pipe, I can't remember. That's 22 or 23 when we
It's
cut the
23.
check.
It was before I came.
Yeah, I
Well,
think
you
it
were
was
you didn't come
23.
until
End of
September
23.
last year, so it could be in here. You got some of the highway money at the I think the landfill transfer has been
Landfill,
made.
yeah.
Um, so you're gonna recognize a lot of those numbers, and then we got all the agreements, and we did UMC Crookston Rotary for the scholarships out there. We did. I used to be able to rattle these things off, but you know.
You
It's
might
okay.
have that on your computer.
I
It's
do.
okay.
I have them sitting in folders in my office.
No,
So-
I think it's important to nail that 1.3, and what makes me a little nervous is projected balance after July transfer, which that's probably real numbers. What if there's a November transfer hanging out there?
Right.
Well, the only things that shouldn't that should show up that aren't in there already was whatever departments have in their budget this year that
Yeah.
are being counted as ARPA.
Yeah.
Completed transfer, yep.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, because the usage requirements changed as time went on.
Well, it did, but we didn't have to worry
No, but I
too
mean,
much about that. The things that we had agreements with to get the money out
we're specific.
were pretty clear.
Mm-hmm.
Things we were using internally, Sarah, Karen,
Mhm.
they're looking very closely at those categories and really justifying program uses for those funds. Things like the landfill, things like highway, probably less so, but because we can just use this for general operations, makes sense.
Of course, with the highway, it was, you know, gas tax revenue was down during COVID because no one was driving.
I don't think that was one of the categories, but I mean, everything goes up and down. But I think if I remember right, we may have done some budget projections in the hopes of the wheelage tax. Now that we upped the sales tax, not the wheelage tax, and I think some of this may have filled that budget gap.
And then plus the sales didn't start till April.
Yeah, you can see it's complicated.
If that wheelage tax had anything to do with weight, I would be much more in support of it. But when a car plays the same as a semi truck, it's
Not
not
quite.
any right.
Quite
Not
awkward.
any
Not
close.
even close.
It's tough when it's called a wheelage tax, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think even, and I've spoken about it, a lot of counties up and down the Red River Valley, especially in the beat area, have implemented 10% overload permits just to generate some extra money into the highway department. And I think we got to highly consider that.
we've got county roads that are probably gonna be damaged because of detours.
Yep.
I mean, there's another need
Gracious
that's
sakes.
gonna have to be done.
And we're gonna pay for that out of our pocket.
Yep. Well,
Yeah, MinDOT's not gonna be generous in coming back to restore these roads.
Yeah.
Warren, I bet you if you
Well,
call them, they'll
and
write
if,
you a check.
I forget 220, that was what completed August 1
Well, in August, I don't know if it's August 1, but
or whatever it is, and pre-pile starts and Polk County Road 64. All those beat trucks pounding up and down that road.
and then they come
Somebody
in,
will get killed out
they
there.
come into town again, and then they go down River Road in town.
Yep.
Well, keep in mind, they are all public roads and roads have to be reconstructed and there are investments being made in those as well that aren't directly coming from us. So I mean, it's a big wash in the end. It's part of maintaining a system. And maybe those roads that get damaged will be the next ones that we have to fix, but then we'll close those and they'll get detoured onto other roads. So
Mm-hmm.
it just doesn't stop.
Yeah, it's a big
It's a
vicious cycle.
process. I wouldn't even say I don't even like vicious. It's just the way it is. It's easier to accept if we know that this is how it goes. There isn't any other way of doing it.
Do they come out and grade those periodically? Them ones that are being destroyed right now.
Quite honestly, I think it's too hard.
Oh,
It's been packed in so hard, the gravel, that it's virtually impossible to grade it. It's that, I mean, it's turned into hard asphalt. It's that hard,
That's so
but then
beyond what they
you've
can do.
got
hmm.
areas that have broken apart and have become soft spots. So even with a pickup, you're driving along, not making any dust, you're not making you're driving on like this tabletop, and all of a sudden you hit a soft spot like in an asphalt road that's all broke up, and you drive out of that and then you go again. So
yeah.
it's
We have sent out the appropriations letters and have gotten a few requests back. The RSVP person is new and wants to come in and visit the board, so that'll happen. Geez, I just wrote her yesterday. Can't remember if it's next week. I think it's in August. So there's going to be some inquiries about it again. But otherwise, no increases from. I mean, I won't budget increases unless you tell me to, and you never have. So
Well, and can any group come in and
well, we
is
have
the senior citizen center, can they come in now and request,
the irony with that one is they used to get funding, and then they said they didn't need it anymore. I don't know if it's the exact same.
well, the city has cut their
Yeah,
sponsorship of it, so I'm sure they're looking for other
they were one of the
sources.
groups that actually told us we thank you for the contributions, but we don't need it anymore. So
That was,
4 or 5 years ago.
I truly believe policy wise we need to make a decision, one on the ARPA money.
yep, and it,
We're not accepting anymore,
Correct.
and we're consuming it internally. And even for the budget concerns of the appropriations that come through the budget, say we're not accepting any other because of budget constraints, so forth and so on. Otherwise, I mean, everybody is looking for money.
Revolving door.
The county operations, we're looking for money. And
every nonprofit's gonna be
At the
on the
door.
door. Yeah, and so I think we've kind of brushed that under the rug in the past, and time to deal with it. Like you say, what are we going to do? I mean, I don't even know how it existed before I came, and
When we do a capital project, it's gone. It's, you don't, for the life of that project, whether it's 5, 10, 20 years, But if you do operating costs, that nothing, you relieve it for 1 year, but it's back on the budget the next.
Just about all those capital costs have maintenance
Yeah,
issues.
oh, yes.
But yeah, we've tackled a lot of things, gotten a lot of things behind us. The roofs are now all pretty much done. So that's
In many ways, I would
Good.
think that Polk County is one of the best managed counties in the state of Minnesota.
well,
When you look at buildings and everything else that we've got going,
there you go.
Well, we do take care of what we have, and I think that's good, but everything comes with a cost.
Don't get depressed about the amount of choices. They're always there, but it always comes together in the end. And the biggest one that nobody has said, and I don't even want to go there, is just we got 8 contracts to negotiate. We don't know where those are going to end. We don't know when that's going to end. I think we're off to an okay start, but 3, we still have 5 to go. And it is one other thing too that I have learned over my career is that new things that come up, as opposed to what we've been doing, become very difficult to prioritize. And without a lot of self-reflection, it can be very easy to figure that everything that we've been doing is a priority over the new things that could or should be done. And it's really not that way. Everything becomes part of a priority. It's just easier not to go back and look at what we're doing. So
the wastebasket right
I just
behind
want to say that. So
me. Oh,
The more
okay.
things change, the more they stay the same.
there's some things that are pretty hard to change, but change happens. It's inevitable.
Anything else for the good of the